Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. It is June 17th, and I'm going to call the roll first. I'm present. Lenora Newsom. Here. Rodney Richmond.
Here.
Clint Boone.
Here.
Lynn Freche.
Here.
Brian Jolly.
Here.
Harold Simpson.
Here.
Okay, we're all present. And I believe I'll just turn this straight over to Ashley this morning.
Our first hearing is Brandy Lamb, and she is going to appear by Zoom due to some medical issues. Muted.
Brandy, can you unmute your system?
There you go.
Can you hear me? Give me 1 second.
Two TVs not working. You can't do that.
Okay, is that, you can hear me?
Okay.
Brandy, can you- Perfect.
Okay, I think we're good.
If you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, good morning, board members. First item on your agenda this morning, filed before the Arkansas State Board of Pharmacy in the matter of Brandy Lamb, applicant. Case number is 2026-033. Would counsel please identify herself for the record?
Ashley Vales, General Counsel for the Arkansas State Board of Pharmacy.
And Ms. Lamb, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Would you be so kind as to identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes. Good morning. My name is Brandy Lamb.
Ms. Lamb, you are really muted. I can barely hear you. I don't know if it's something on your end or something on our end. Would you try again, please?
Yes, my name is Brandy Lamb.
Well, yeah, it's the old, have you ever heard that old saying, your lips are moving, but I cannot hear a word you're saying? That's what's happening.
We're gonna get Jen.
Yeah, we're gonna try to see if we can't get things adjusted. So you are unmuted on your end, correct? And you can just nod your head.
I am unmuted. I could type.
Okay. We are seeing if there's something on our end. In the meantime, there are things you can do just to kind of set the table right now that just require a nod of your head. Okay. So, and I'll get it reflected in the record. So for the record, my name is Charlie Moulton. I'll be acting as the hearing officer for this hearing. Okay. Now, because you're on the Zoom call, I'm going to go under the assumption you are representing yourself here this morning, correct? Just let the record reflect that the respondent nodded yes. And you've read the order and notice of hearing, correct?
Yes.
All right. Again, she has nodded yes. And you're ready to proceed here this morning, correct?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. She nodded yes to those three things. I glanced at the record previously. I'm going to go with the assumption that you may have been in an administrative hearing previously, or is that incorrect?
I think so.
Yeah, you have been in an administrative hearing? Okay. Again, she nodded yes affirmatively that she's been in an administrative hearing. So this process is going to work kind of similar. What's going to happen is Ms. Vales, who represents staff, is going to go first. She's going to call whatever witnesses she may have. She'll introduce into the record exhibits that she's compiled. And then once she's done questioning those witnesses, because you're representing yourself, you will have the opportunity to ask those witnesses questions as well if you'd like. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's not going to be held against you. But because you're representing yourself, you have that opportunity. After Ms. Vales is done with her presentation, it'll be your turn. And you can just explain to the board what transpired. As I understand, you're seeking a license from the board this morning, and why you think you're worthy of obtaining that license. And then once you're done with your presentation and your explanation, Ms. Vales may ask you some questions. The board members may ask you some questions too. Once all the testimony and evidence is in, they go up. Do you go off the record now or do you stay on the record? Do you still go off the record for your deliberations? Okay. Everybody's doing it differently. Lately, everything's changed. So they do go off the record, they deliberate, and once they reach a decision, they come back on the record, they announce that decision with a motion and a vote. My job as the hearing officer is to run this proceeding for the benefit of the board, but it's for your benefit too. So if at any time you don't understand what's happening, raise your hand, get my attention. I'll be looking at you from both angles here and we'll get on the same page with you. Okay? And would you try again? Could you just state something and see if we can hear you?
Hi, my name is Brandy Lamb.
Now we can hear you. That's awesome. Okay. Ms. Lamb, do you have any questions for me before we start proceeding?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ms. Vales, how many witnesses?
I have just one.
Just one? I assume it's the assistant director because she's sitting right next to you.
McCready, yes.
Ladies, would you be so kind? I'm going to go ahead and swear you both in. Ms. Lamb, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you both swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Ms. Lamb? All right. Thank you both very much. Housekeeping matter, I've got, it looks like 15 exhibits. Ms. Vales, you want to move the admission of these exhibits into the record?
Yes, I'd ask that these exhibits be admitted into the record and I guess judicial notice be taken of the applicable
Sure.
pharmacy rules and
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take
Statute.
judicial notice of the statutes and the rules. Arkansas Code annotated sections 17-92-101 at sequence, as well as the Arkansas Administrative Procedures Act, sections 25-15-201 at sequence. Ms. Lamb, do you have any objection to the admission of staff's exhibits 1 through 15?
No.
All right, thank you very much. Without objections, staff's exhibits 1 through 15 are admitted. Ms. Lamb, did you provide any documents to staff this morning that you would like the board members to review before we get started in terms of what might be missing in this record?
the exhibits that I'm presenting are the application that Ms. Lamb has submitted and the supporting documents that she submitted. So I'm not sure if there's anything else, but that's what the record is thus far.
Understood. So I need to ask you again, Ms. Lamb, again, there's a semi-formal process here. I don't want to overlook it. Did you have anything that you wanted the board to take a look at this morning that's not already made part of the record?
No, I didn't think to assemble any character witnesses. I could have done that, but I did not. No, sorry.
No, that's fine. I understand. Well, why don't we, board members, do you need to go off the record for a minute or two to review these documents before we get started, or would you like to just press ahead? What's the prerogative of the board? Just press ahead? Okay. All right. With that, Ms. Vales, go ahead and call your first witness, please.
Call Dr. Brenda McCready. Dr. McCready, what is your job title here at the Board of Pharmacy?
I'm the assistant director.
And as part of your duties as assistant director, do you review applicants for reciprocity?
Yes, I did.
Did you review the application of Brandy Lamb?
I did.
And based on your review, we administratively denied that application, correct?
That is correct.
And Ms. Lamb has appealed that decision, which brings us to our hearing today. But what in the application caused you concern so that we administratively denied it?
Ms. Lamb had some disqualifying criminal offenses. They included a drug felony, which we made the decision. She came to an informal previously and had been denied. And then we made the decision after reviewing all of her paperwork that this application would need to be denied.
And so do you remember what year she was denied her application the first time?
It was denied. February 2nd of 2015.
Okay. And the criminal history that was presented in 2015, is it the same as what's been presented today?
It is.
And so can you highlight for the board, what those offenses were that caused us to deny her application administratively?
I can. On November 11th of 1993, she was arrested by the College of Southern Utah Police Department. She was charged with possession of a controlled substance with the intent to distribute, which was a second-degree felony, possession with intent to distribute, a third-degree felony, possession of drug paraphernalia, which is a Class B misdemeanor. The case was sealed on May 14th, 2014. The disposition of that offense is unknown. On October 28th of 2001, she was arrested for possession of cocaine and possession of marijuana less than 20 grams. The court withheld judgment of guilt, and she was sentenced to pay cost of $108 and $25 prosecution costs. On June 15th, 2015, the Oregon State Board of Pharmacy assessed her $150 civil penalty.
Wait, before you go there, so she's got two offenses one from 1993 and one from 2001, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and based on your review, is it your understanding that these criminal offenses caused her to have action against her by other boards of pharmacy?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so let's go over a couple of those. You started out with Oregon.
June 15th of 2015, she was assessed a $150 civil penalty in order to complete 3 hours of continuing education for failing to disclose her previous use of marijuana. June 16th of 2018, the Kentucky Board of Pharmacy found that she failed to comply with continuing education or competency requirements. She was assessed $500 in order to submit additional continuing education.
And that one has nothing to do with any drug use,
It does
correct?
not.
Okay.
On May 29th of 2019, Louisiana Board of Pharmacy gave her a reprimand or censure and ordered her to pay $1,000 in monetary penalty for failing to disclose her November 18th application for renewal of her Louisiana pharmacist license. That she did not disclose the disciplinary action taken by the Kentucky Board. On April 8th, 2020, the Michigan Board of Pharmacy assessed her a $250 disciplinary fine for being disciplined by the Kentucky Board. On October 21st, 2020, the Alabama Board of Pharmacy assessed her a $4,000 administrative fine due to her failure to disclose her 2017-2018 renewal application that a consent order was issued by the Oregon Board of Pharmacy on May 15th of 2015 and the agreed order by the Kentucky Board of Pharmacy on June 15th of 2018.
So some of these are what we call like piggyback. If you violate the rules in one state, some states do discipline you for that, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and some of those are that. And then, as you said earlier, she's appeared before our board in 2015. So some of these other boards' actions happened after she appeared here. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. So is it your recommendation that her application for Arkansas reciprocity be denied?
It is.
And in summary, what do you feel the board should uphold that denial?
Well, the board, I feel like the board should uphold the denial. DEA Enforcement Administration has a rule that 1301.76 that says the registrant shall not employ as an agent or employee who has access to controlled substances any person who's been convicted of a felony offense relating to controlled substances or who at any time had an application for registration with the DEA denied, etc. Staff feels that this makes her unfit to hold a license. It's unprofessional conduct as well and violation of Arkansas State Board of Pharmacy rules and regulations.
All right, anything else you want to add with regard to your review of her application?
No, ma'am.
Ask the witness.
Thank you, Ms. Vales. Ms. Lamb, would you like to ask Dr. McCready any questions? Ms. Lamb, did you hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no.
Um,
Would you like to ask Dr. McCready any questions?
no,
All right. Board members, any questions? Apparently there are none. Thank you very much for your testimony. Ms. Vales, you rest.
We rest.
All right. Ms. Lamb, it's your turn. So go ahead and explain to the board what I guess, transpired or why you think the staff's decision to deny you a license is incorrect and the board should grant you one. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, so I have this whole situation that we are referring to is from 1993. This had been over 30 years ago, and at the time I was 18. I was very young and naive and hanging out with the wrong people. My life is completely different now. I am a mother of 2 teenage sons that are the world to me, and I have learned to not let people push me around, which was basically what was happening back in those days. And I have learned to step up for myself. I have much better tools in my toolbox now. This offense that has been discussed has been expunged. I am licensed in 20 states. I have explained this situation to all of them. In the Arkansas State Board of Pharmacy law book, I know that circumstances for which a waiver may be granted shall include the age at which the crime was committed, the circumstances surrounding the crime, the length of time since the crime, subsequent work history, employment references, character references, and other evidence demonstrating, with all due respect, I think, I have done a lot of charity work with the Boy Scouts of America, with my boys. I've worked as a nurse, I've worked as a pharmacist. The position that I am looking to get this license for is a remote position, working from home. I would be covering some of your remote facilities there in Arkansas during their after hours, working nights. It's a position that I am very grateful for, and I am also very grateful for all of your time and your consideration. And I hope that you can agree with the 20 other states that were willing to give me the opportunity to work as a pharmacist in their states.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Ms. Vales, do you have any questions?
I have a couple. So Dr. Lamb, I know you've been denied in Arkansas. Has your license been denied in any other states due to this? No. And you've got some disciplinary issues that have happened with other states since you appeared before us in 2015. Do you have any explanation for some of those were CE violations and things like that?
Yeah.
Do you have any explanation for those?
It was all the CE violation. I have a consultant license as well, and in Florida we renew every 2 years, and in Kentucky they renew every year. So the 1 year that they chose to audit me was a year where things fell to the side. So the years on either side of that year, I think I had 78 credit hours for one, and like something like 50 or 60 something the year before on either side of that. But in that year that I was audited, there was only 1 credit. So now I take at least 1 class every month. I do not want any more issues. Anything that's happened to me in my past, I try to learn from and grow stronger from and make plans to avoid.
Sure. So are you working right now anywhere?
Yes, I am working. Pipeline Pharmacy is the original company, which was purchased by CarePath, which was purchased by Cigna. So I am currently an employee of Cigna.
Does your current employer know of your criminal history?
Yes.
All right, that's all the questions I have for Dr. Lamb.
Thank you, Ms. Vales. Board members, any questions for Dr. Lamb? Yes, I do. Go ahead, Harold.
Dr. Lamb, you've been somewhat vague about the circumstances of the 1993 arrest, and you acted to file a petition to seal that information. What I would like to know is I would like to know the specific details of the arrest, what happened, what you were charged with, what the disposition was, and so forth.
So, it was my first time moving away from home. I had a boyfriend at the time who, was, he was not a very good person. He had the idea that I should take some I think he gave me some marijuana and told me that I could sell that to other students. This was how he was making money, and it was not really something that I even knew how to do. And I wasn't attempting to do any of that. I just I didn't know how to say no to him. So I was holding on to it and wasn't really sure what to do with it. And one of my roommates called the police, and the police came and found it. And I admitted to, what the purpose of it was. And, intent to distribute is a felony. So,
So it was the possession and intent to distribute marijuana.
yes.
What about the cocaine?
That was from 2001. I was with the same boyfriend. We had moved to Florida, and they were doing, I mean, this was in Key West. I don't know if you've ever heard of Fantasy Festival. I had just happened to be near some people who were doing that, and police came, and somebody dropped, there was a little bag of what was cocaine, and somebody dropped it, and I thought I was helping by picking it up. It wasn't mine, and I had nothing to do with it. But because it was in my hand when the police were there, that was considered to be in my possession, even though it wasn't mine.
How much later was the Key West incident after the first incident you discussed?
The first incident was 1993, and Key West was 2001.
And were you selling marijuana in Key West?
No, no. No,
So-
I was never selling marijuana ever. I had it, but like I said, I didn't. That's not something that I know how to do. That's not something that's in my nature. It was an idea presented to me by my boyfriend at the time. And like I said, I didn't know how to say no at that time.
So the first arrest took place in Utah, correct?
Correct.
And the second arrest took place in Florida.
Correct.
And what were the dispositions of the arrest in Utah? What happened? What were you sentenced to, or what was the?
The sentencing was, I did spend, I think, 16 days in jail. They allowed me to go on the weekends because after that happened, I moved back to Salt Lake City. So I drove down on the weekends, and they allowed me to bring my textbooks into the cell with me so that I could study. I believe there may have been a fine. This was a long time ago. I can't remember. I do remember driving back and forth. I saw a probation officer for, I think, a period of a year afterwards, and was released with no incidents.
What was the result of the Florida arrest?
I hired an attorney to deal with most of that. So what I remember doing was paying a fine. Other than that, I don't recall there being any other issues.
Okay, when you have you had any other arrests
No,
other than these two?
no. I stay as far away from all of that as possible. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I do have a cup of coffee every day, that's about it. And I'm recovering from a spinal surgery that I had a couple of months ago, so I'm kind of limited in what I can do, so.
And you filed a petition with the Utah court to seal the record?
It was expunged, yes. That expungement happened many years ago. But despite the fact that it has been expunged, I still disclaim that in all of the applications that I've like I said, I'm licensed in 20 states, and I have disclaimed that to all of them. So everyone has been informed of my background.
Was the Florida arrest expunged?
No, it was not. It's not eligible for expungement.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Lamb, I have a few questions I'd like to ask. So, notwithstanding the fact that the drug charges,
Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing.
I don't know if this microphone's not working. Is that better?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Notwithstanding the fact that these drug-related charges and arrests for controlled substance, drug paraphernalia, cocaine, and marijuana occurred many years ago. And I do take notice of Dr. McCrady's testimony pointing out the issues regarding conviction of a controlled substance. So I'm not quite sure what to make of this. You say that the case it's about the age of the crime, that these things have aged out. And so if it's not a drug issue, we certainly have concern about a continuing education issue. So you've got 5 different states that have taken action against your license regarding issues revolving around continuing education. Is that correct?
That was all regarding the one audit from Kentucky. Like she mentioned, it was a piggyback issue. So
Okay, well, the piggyback issue occurred in Louisiana, Michigan, and Alabama. But also you're in 2015, which predated your run-in with the Kentucky board. In 2015, you were assessed a penalty for failure to complete 3 hours of continuing education, in addition to failing to produce or to mention that you had been convicted for marijuana.
are you mentioning, is that the Oregon?
Yes.
Yeah, the Oregon, that was part of their penalty was to continue or to do the continuing education. But that was all regarding the felony offense, the criminal offense.
Okay, but it still involved issues regarding continuing education.
No, that one was only the criminal offense, and they're part of what they asked me to do in restitution, I guess, was the 3 hours of continuing education. I did.
Okay, so the CE and the fine were the punishment for the failure to disclose. Okay.
Correct.
All right. So in Kentucky, you had 28 hours of continuing education for which you had no proof of completing. True?
I believe they do 15 hours every year. And for that year, I had 1 hour. So there would have been 14 deficient for that year.
Okay. I do see an issue revolving around 14 of 15 CE hours that were not completed, but that was the mentioned under the state of Alabama. So maybe we can back up and get some clarification from council here on what the number of hours are.
Yeah, in every state, keeping up with all of the states is a little bit challenging. but I can assure you that all states, regardless of whether they renew biennially or annually, they end up having 15 hours per year. So I try to do at least 2 hours every month. So if I'm keeping up with that, I should have 24 hours a year, which makes me feel much more comfortable. Like I said, I do not want to have to come before the boards of any pharmacies anymore. It is not the most comfortable thing in the world to have to stand here. And for something like continuing education, I am capable of completing that on my own, and I have a reminder set into my phone to complete that. So.
So you're familiar with Arkansas has a 100% continuing education audit that every
Okay.
time the pharmacist license renew on December 31st of the odd year, then subsequent to that for renewal, we do 100% audit to make sure that all your CE is done. You
Okay.
aware of that?
Yeah, you're not the only state to do that, so that's fine.
Okay. And you indicated that because you have 20 different licenses, that you sometimes had a hard time keeping track of it. Do you use the NABP CPE monitor to help you keep on track?
I have several tools that I use. The more, the better. So yes, I use the CPE monitor. I use, I have a spreadsheet that I keep track of everything. Yeah, I stay on top of it as much as possible.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other board members?
I have a follow-up if I could.
Apparently not. Ms. Vales, do you have a follow-up?
Dr. Lamb, how old were you when you went to pharmacy school?
Let's see, that was 2009 when I started, so I would have been 2009.
Well, let me ask it this way.
34.
Okay, so by that time you had both of these convictions for drug offenses, correct?
Yes,
And was the pharmacy school you attended aware of your convictions for drug offenses?
I don't recall actually.
Okay. Did you do any rotations as part of your pharmacy school education?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember if any of those people or those places that you did your rotation knew of your criminal history?
I don't recall that back in those days, we were, everything that we did was through the school. I don't believe that we had to fill out any applications with the rotation sites.
Okay, so you're not aware if they knew or not in
I'm
your
not
recollection? Okay, that's all I have.
Board members, any other questions? Just belt and suspenders? All right, if not, Ms. Lamb, I have to ask you, anything else you want to add, or do you rest at this point?
I just want to emphasize that, everything I'm doing currently is, I'm an upstanding citizen. I'm a great neighbor, a great friend, a great mother. And I really, I'm embarrassed of all of these things that I'm discussing with you today, and hopeful to move forward with my head held high and to, do some good work for the people of Arkansas.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Vales, would you like to do a close?
I'll waive that.
All right. Doctor?
I do have one
Sure
clarification. The denial for application for Arkansas in 2015, so that the only thing that would have been far CE wise would have been the Oregon, and that was related to the drug charge. So our denial in 2015, that was related to her criminal history?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And the fact that because of the DEA regulation, we don't have a license that differentiates whether you work remote or whether you work. So if you give her a license, it allows her to use that license in whatever means she does, unless we do like an MOU or something like that.
All right, anyone else? If not, we'll go ahead. I'll call the evidentiary part of the record to a close. Board's going to go off the record. They will deliberate, and once they reach a decision in this matter, they will come back on the record and announce that decision with a motion and vote. We are off the record. Madam Chair, over to you.
I don't see any changes that have been made with her, even though she's saying that I've changed now. Those behavior patterns, have still been in place. She's still done things that she shouldn't have been doing as a pharmacist.
One of the things I'd like to ask when we go back on the record is the relationship between the application to seal the Utah record and the earlier Arkansas application.
I mean, was it sealed prior to?
Was the sealing motivated by the application in Arkansas?
I think it was sealed in 2014 and our action was in 2015.
Well, right, but was it sealed in anticipation of the application in order to avoid disclosing it or providing the information on the substance, the charges?
I mean, she did disclose on her application that she'd been arrested and even the most recent one.
Right, but I'm talking about in the 2015 application.
What year was she licensed?
She graduated in 2013, but I don't know if we had like licensure dates from other states.
That's fine.
Interplea license if that boyfriend during the 2015 and she's already licensed.
Well, I'll also say I'm somewhat concerned at the not being able to navigate the continuing education requirements of multiple states. When you're talking about a pharmacist, you're talking about dealing with multiple and conflicting issues. And that's a concern to me.
My concerns are whether or not she could actually handle. Given a putting a license in the hands of somebody. Haven't seen anything change from 2015 since this made their initial decision. Those things come out.
I'm in agreement with that. I'm not in support of proving the reciprocity.
Yep, you don't have any comments?
I mean, I think for me personally, 10 years has passed or 11 since we denied it the last time. The CE to me is I think that it's understandable that people make mistakes on that, and that if she did make it up and corrected it, especially when you're dealing with multiple states, I think we've seen that before in other people. I still have the concern about the controlled substance. So if I were to approve it, then I would want an MOU saying that you could only use that remotely and not in a pharmacy.
Yeah, I'm in line, my thinking's in line with Clint's.
Okay, so we will just need to do a motion and a second and see where we are.
Madam Chair, if you're ready to go back on the record for that motion, or do you want to do a one without being on the record first? And then go back on the record? What's your prerogative?
Let's do one off the record and see if we're gonna need to make several.
Yeah.
Okay, who would like to make a motion?
I'd just like to discuss it a little bit.
Okay.
Because
Do that.
basically, at point on this side of the table is the concern for the controlled substance history and the continuing education. And primarily a concern that we approve a license, therefore it has the ability to allow her to be involved with the handling of controlled substances. And on the other side of the table, same concerns, but the addressing of that is going to be an MOU addendum to that license that says she cannot do that. Where's our point where we can all agree?
Right. Possibly three could agree with the MOU, but we have three others. We could or couldn't.
You're gonna need to catch me up. Are you all talking about approving the reciprocity, but placing some limitation on it?
For me to be comfortable, yes, I would want.
That's what you're talking about
Yeah.
doing. And I assume that you can place limitations like that. That's just not something I'm familiar with.
Yeah, but if we did have an MOU, how would that be enforceable? On don't know what, are there any sanctions on any of the other licenses from other states? Or we will be the only ones that will have that, sanction upon her license?
I guess one thing we could ask, if we want to go back on the record, is have we ever granted a license with the MOU that you couldn't dispense controlled substances? I don't know if we have. I remembers if we have. The question we'd like to know if it's even possible before we try to take a vote.
How is it enforceable?
Okay, can we go back on the record?
Okay. All right, back on the record. Board has some questions that they would hope to get clarification on. Madam Chair?
The board would like to know if we could grant the the license, but have an MOU with her that states she could not fill controlled substances. I know she's working remote now and next week she may not be, but can we put that kind of stipulation on the MOU? And then how do we enforce that?
I'm gonna go backwards and say, I don't know how we would enforce that. I will say that we've never done that, and I would defer to the board attorney on whether we could do that.
Board attorney?
Well, I mean, I think you could do an MOU, but you would have no teeth if we couldn't go down to Florida and make sure that she was following it. And I don't know that I mean, you technically, yes, you could do it, but I'm not sure it would meet the purpose of the MOU if you couldn't really supervise and enforce it.
I have a question, maybe a little bit differently. So the rule around if you have a past conviction related to controlled substances, not being able to work in a pharmacy space, in a prescription space that has controlled substances, if I'm stating that correctly, is that a Board of Pharmacy rule or is that a DEA rule?
No, that's a DEA rule,
Okay,
and you can get a waiver of that. Her employer would have to do that.
okay.
But that is also in our statute or can be a reason to deny her application.
Right. So we approved it, knowing that she's working remotely, doing third-party remote order verification. And at some point, she either works at an out-of-state pharmacy that dispenses controlled substances in the state of Arkansas, or she physically moves here and works in. Is the Board of Pharmacy liable for that DEA issue at that point? Like what burden do we bear there? That's my question. And I just want to know what liability we take on as a board if we approve an application and then she doesn't have a waiver, but she's in a situation where she's violating that DEA rule.
I mean, liable in what way? I'm not sure we would be technically.
Does that come back on us? Is that our problem or is that?
I don't think you'd be liable for that, but I do think, I mean, in the past, we've not issued licenses for people unless they've gotten this DEA waiver. We've mostly done that with technicians. And then I think the board has said if they get a waiver, then we'll grant the license. So we've handled it that way since I've been here. But the board would not be liable if she failed to adhere to the DEA rule. I mean, she could be subject to disciplinary action if she did that, if that were the case, but liable, no.
And it sounds like there's no effective way that we can grant with conditions. Like, we're granting this based on the job that you're saying that you want to do, which is remote order verification, which means by definition, you're not going to be in that situation.
Right.
There's just no effective way to do that, it sounds like.
There's not an effective way to enforce that.
I think the reason we've asked for the waiver prior to is because if we give her a license, she can work in Arkansas. And if she doesn't notify the pharmacy, then the issue falls on them. So by giving her a license, then they become the liable party.
And does that DEA regulation cover them working for a pharmacy, or is it being physically present with the control? You know what I mean? Does it have to do with working
It
there?
just says the registrant shall not employ.
Okay,
So it's on the registrant, but a registrant would have to know that this employee needs a waiver to get it. And I've seen people get it, and it just depends on the nature of the offense and how their sentencing order and all that was written out. But it's the registrant's responsibility.
So even if we gave the MOU, it still is the same issue. You can't work there without the registrant knowing, without getting a waiver. And that's for a single store, right? I mean, sorry, that's
Right.
for just with that registrant. So, if she changes employers, then it's another whole ballgame to get another waiver.
And this may be playing armchair lawyer a little bit, but I mean, I can see on one hand, she's already got 20 other licenses, so we're not prohibiting her from being able to make a living. But I could see a theory of liability potentially where this board issues a license, MOU or not. Their inability to enforce it, something happens. The board then and the third party, let's say somebody gets harmed because of controlled substances and her actions. And there's an injury and the board, they come and sue the board and say, you were acting outside of your scope as a board member because you issued a license when you full well knew that she would not be eligible to handle controlled substances to start with. And then that makes us potentially liable in that regard. Like, again, that may be play an armchair lawyer a little bit, but I could certainly foresee that as being an argument.
Board members, if I could, we've had a lot of discussion. I think we need to pull in the respondent just a little bit, if it's okay with the board. And Dr. Lamb, have you gotten a DEA waiver anywhere else already?
I was resisting interrupting, but I have acted as a DEA registrant for a pharmacy here in Florida. I did disclose to them my past, and because it was expunged, and because of the date of the, the nature of the date being so far back, they did not ask for further information and granted me the ability to act as registrant. This was in a facility that was using controlled substances.
And Dr. Lim, you heard the discussion about the memorandum of understanding and MOU.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know what MOU stood for, but I did hear
I didn't know if you knew what the acronym stood for. Would you be amenable to signing that if the board?
Yes,
wanted that as part
absolutely.
of-
Absolutely. The only issue, I don't know if it would be affect, like, if, like, I know one of the facilities in Arkansas is a surgical center, so I would be approving probably controlled substance orders for the patients, but I would have no, the only people that would actually be in contact with the substances would be the nurses in the facilities, so.
All right, apologies, board. I just wanted to make certain you got the full picture and the full story. Ms. Vales, any questions that you would like to ask Dr. Lamb based on the two questions I asked her? No. Board members, any questions for Dr. Lamb based on that testimony? All right, we've still been on the record. Do you want to go back off the record? And
Just try to make a motion and see how it weighs out.
you gonna stay on the record or?
Yes.
Okay, all right. We're still on the record. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, I would like to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for denial.
Okay, that is Lynn Boucher made the motion, and the second is Dr. Richmond.
Can you, apologies again, can you back up, Doctor? So you need to make a motion that the findings of fact and conclusions of law have been proven before you get to the actual decision. If you could, would you be okay with amending that motion?
Yes, please.
All right.
With the allegations, case number 2026-033 with allegations A1 through A11 proven. Charge C1 also true. I make a motion that we deny the application.
And that is Lynn Boucher that made the motion.
I'll second that amended motion.
Rodney Richmond will second. Okay, and we probably have to do a show of hands. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or all those opposed say nay. Okay, the motion carries.
Madam Chair, the motion passed 4 votes in favor, 2 against. I will ask staff to reduce that decision to writing. Make certain the respondent, Dr. Lamb, gets a copy of it along with an information sheet or cover letter that notifies her of her appeal rights. Moving forward, if there are no further questions or comments, I'll call this hearing to a close. We're off the record. Dr. Lamb, they'll be sending you information, and you can probably circle back with staff after probably sometime tomorrow. I know they're going to be busy all day today, and maybe get some insight in terms of what it is you need to do moving forward, okay?
Hey, I'm sorry, can you, so the application is being denied?
That's correct, ma'am. It was denied, 4 votes in favor of denial, 2 against the denial. So that motion to deny passed.
Is there anything I could do to change the denial?
You can appeal it to circuit court. And that will be your next step. But staff will get with you and tell you how that process unfolds and how that works. And is that right? All right. But they will, if you give them until tomorrow or Friday to reach out to them, because right now they're going to be incredibly busy all day. So go ahead and reach out to them and they'll probably give you some insight on what to do next. Okay,
And
man?
there's nothing I can do to change that right now at this moment.
That's correct. There's nothing you can do at this moment. I mean, we're gonna go ahead and go off the record. They've got other hearings that are set up here. You can go ahead and log off, okay?
Okay.
All right.
And I've got some emergency hearings that we need to take up. I'll not need the hearing officer or the court reporter for that, so I guess we can take a break, or unless you all want a break as well, we can do that too.
How many do you have?
I'm gonna talk really, really fast, but I have 5.
I'm good for going forward.
All right, the first one, I'm gonna call Dr. Holland as a witness. It's Ashley Brownell, case number 2026-49. Her technician number is PT 94366. And we received notice last week of some issue regarding her arrest and her work at the pharmacy. I'm going to let Dr. Holland testify to that since he took the information. So Dr. Holland, tell me what contact you had with the pharmacy regarding their technician, Ashley Brownell.
So last Thursday at the association meeting, I was approached by the pharmacy owner and asked what his next steps were in notifying us that one of his technicians had been arrested for a DWI.
And what did he tell you? What information were you able to glean about that?
I believe he revealed that was her second DWI. I think for my records, her prior one was in 2019. And I was also able to get some information that they found some empty containers in the restroom after she left work. At least 2 containers.
And she left work about 3 o'clock, is that right?
Speaking with the pharmacist in charge, I was told she left abruptly around 3 p.m. She told the other technician told the pharmacist. Shortly thereafter, her husband appeared at the pharmacy, concerned from, I guess, her driving behaviors on Life 360. And I believe she was booked around 4:53 p.m. that same day.
Arrested for DWI.
Correct.
So is it the board's concern that she was potentially using alcohol while on the job?
I haven't received the letters yet from pharmacy staff at this point. Verbally, they've told me they did not feel that she was impaired that day while she was working. But what happened from the time she left at 3 p.m. on, we don't really know.
And so the alcohol that was found in the trash can, that was found at her place of employment, correct?
That's correct.
And no one else took responsibility for this alcohol that was disposed of in the trash can?
Correct.
And again, this is her second DWI.
Right.
So, board members, for that reason, we feel like the health and safety of the public would be at risk and are asking for a suspension of her pharmacy tech license pending a full hearing in front of the board.
That's correct. 2 empty containers. At least 2 is what they told me. It was what's called a buzz ball, I believe, that has about 15% alcohol by volume.
I'll make a motion to suspend.
Okay, I have a motion by Brian Jolly and a second by Rodney Richmond. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
The next hearing I have is, on Kayla Criswell, PT 15553. Ms. Criswell was terminated from Walmart in Conway. She had been placed on unpaid suspension for over a year for violating Walmart's associate arrest or charges and conviction policy. Walmart reported this to the board after she was terminated officially on April 8th of 2026. She had not worked at Walmart for a year. That is due to her arrest on March 25th, 2025. She was arrested and charged with possession of methamphetamine, cocaine, or heroin with purpose to deliver, manufacture of cocaine, possession of Schedule 1 or 2 controlled substance with intent to deliver not methamphetamine or cocaine, use or possession of paraphernalia with the purpose to manufacture methamphetamine or cocaine, maintaining a drug premises, and possession of controlled substance Schedule 4. She has been charged criminally with all of those offenses and has a court date pending. And our next one is in August, but the case has been going on for a little over a year. I did offer her a voluntary surrender and heard back from her attorney. She's hired an attorney. I explained to him our voluntary surrender process and procedure and also the disciplinary hearing route. And he said that he would discuss it with her and get back with me on what she wanted to do, but I have not heard from him. And due to the nature of those felony drug offenses, we feel it's appropriate that her pharmacy tech license be suspended, pending a full hearing in front of the board. I think, as I told her attorney, even if all of these charges are dismissed in criminal court, we would still be concerned with her access to drugs and whether or not she was using drugs. So even if those get dismissed, as her attorney anticipates they will, I told him that it would not probably, it would still probably be an issue for the board. So I'm asking that her license be suspended pending a full hearing in front of the board on the merits of the case due to the health and safety issue with any patients she would encounter.
And we're not aware of her working anywhere else because she updated her employment.
Yeah, she's not updated her employment, but I do know from her attorney that she does want her pharmacy tech license to remain. But again, we would say that in our staff's opinion, needs to be suspended pending a hearing.
She didn't report that arrest.
She did not report the arrest at the time that she was arrested, and that was March of last year. And Walmart didn't report it until they eventually terminated her after having her on suspension for a year. It's unrelated to pharmacy. It's the actions that caused the criminal information to be filed didn't have anything to do with her working in a pharmacy, but they would be felony drug convictions if she is convicted.
Okay, motion to suspend.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Lenora Newsom and a second by Clint Boone. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
One more or two more. Karen McGilton, PT 83729. On April 16th, 2026, Ms. McGilton entered a negotiated plea of controlled substance fraudulent practices. The allegation was that she entered a plea to was acquiring controlled substances by theft, which is a Class D felony. She committed this offense on September 5th, 2025 while working at Walgreens. She rang herself up for prescriptions, and she also took another patient's Norco prescription when that prescription was returned, and then 15 pills were noticed to be missing. She hid the bag and took the bag home. And when questioned by staff, she came back with the bottle and the label had been removed. and they did a count and they were off for hydrocodone and acetaminophen. They were negative. They were short 60 tablets. All of these incidents are on video as well. Ms. McGilton actually reported this to me on May 11th, 2026. I offered her a voluntary surrender. At first, she said she was going to give it to me and sign it. But the letter that, when I send a voluntary surrender, I give them a deadline to submit it, and she has passed that deadline. She did report that she is working remotely, but that job, wherever she's working, was not ever reported to the board. So I asked her to update her information and she declined to do that. So I'm asking for a voluntary, or staff is asking for a voluntary, or for a temporary suspension of her license pending a full hearing due to our concerns with her felony drug conviction and her ability to work in a pharmacy due to the DEA regulation, as well as how that would affect the health and safety of the patients of Arkansas.
Motion to suspend.
I have a motion by Brian Jolly and a second by Harold Simpson. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
I lied, I have two more now. The next one is Dana Russell, PT 97609. Ms. Russell was observed as late, in May 4th, 2026, she was working at Walmart. She was observed on closed caption television, putting a quantity of oxycodone 10 milligram tabs and Zofran 4 milligram tabs into her pocket and removing it from the pharmacy without purchasing it. The store had gotten a complaint that a patient didn't receive their medicine, and they went back and looked at the video at the point of sale counter. It shows her affixing a prescription label to a bottle intended for the sale of two customers that are there. She was observed placing the bottle under the POS counter and handing one bottle to an unknown female, and that bottle contained 6 tablets of oxycodone, 10 milligrams that was for a different patient. Then she removed a pill bottle from the will call and affixed a new prescription label to it, showed it to the pharmacy and provided that to the pharmacist, and then filled another bottle and removed that bottle and placed that bottle in her pocket. She has not been interviewed because after this May 6th date, she did not return to work. And so they didn't interview her, but she is on their closed caption television system, which we have access to, and they've provided that to us of diverting those drugs in her person and removing them from the store without paying for them. So we would also ask that her license be suspended pending a full hearing.
Motion to suspend.
I have a motion by Lenora Newsom, second by Rodney Richmond. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, this is the last one. Zachary Smith, PT 20597. Mr. Smith was arrested on June 9th, 2026 for possession of drug paraphernalia for the purpose of manufacturing, theft by receiving, and 2 counts of commercial burglary. Mr. Smith was terminated from Collier's Drug Store on May 21st, 2026, just for performance issues. He sort of disputed that firing, and they had to escort him out of the building. On May 25th, 2026, he attempted to break into the compounding lab. It was attempted break-in, and he is the suspect and has since been arrested for attempted commercial burglary. On Tuesday, May 26th, he also went into the Willow Creek location of Collier's Drug Store, claiming to need to gather his personal belongings, although staff didn't think he had any personal belongings. While he was in the store at that time, he took some oxycodone, 15 milligrams from the shelf, which is all on camera. He later confessed that to the police. Then on Monday, June 1st, 2006, he attempted to gain access to the compounding lab before operating hours. He entered the clinic dressed in scrubs and attempted to enter through the back access. He didn't gain access then, but he attempted to gain access through another entrance and was spotted by a pharmacist and then left. After that, he came to the Dixon Street location of Collier Drugstore on Sunday and tried to fill oxycodone prescription, but they refused him and he left without an argument. He then attempted to gather what he claimed were his personal belongings at the Farmington Collier's location, but he never worked at that location and was asked to leave, and he did. So he has been arrested for those felony charges. And since they are related to pharmacy and diversion, as well as breaking in or attempting to break into the pharmacy, we would ask that his license be suspended as well, pending a full hearing.
Motion to suspend.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Brian Jolly and a second by Clint Boone. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
This fails. Would it be possible, tell me if this is inappropriate, of those 5 that we just suspended, how many were granted on waiver?
I have one person that I'm not bringing forward to you today that's agreed to sign a voluntary surrender. She was on a waiver for theft and got a new theft charge. And Dr. McCready talked to her. She's not in the stack, but Dr. McCready talked to her. And I already did him. Oh, he's a waiver too. And so she's agreed to voluntary surrender. My understanding is Zachary Smith, the one I just did, also a waiver.
So 2 of 6.
Two of 6 that we know of offhand. I don't know that we've looked at that issue for every one of them, but I can get back to you. But I can tell you right now, it's 2 of 6.
I'd like to know on the other 4.
Okay, we can find that out.
I know we have looked at this a couple of times previously when we examined how many people we had to do emergency suspensions or suspensions on. And I think in 2025, it was roughly 25% of the people that we were asking for suspensions on as technicians had been granted a waiver. So it's not that 25% of the people who got a waiver wound up having a secondary issue, but 25% of the issues we have with technicians were people who were granted a waiver.
Thank you.
And my next hearing is at 10:30, so if we want to take a break.
So can we be back around 10:25, 27, so we can get set up for the next one?
order and turn it over to Ashley.
Ashley Vales, General Counsel for the Arkansas State Board of Pharmacy.
Darren O'Quinn, Little Rock, on behalf of Dr. Carl Collier.
Yes, I move to.
No, sir.
I have one witness, Dr. Tankersley.
We have one witness, Dr. Collier.
Briefly, members of the board, we have filed allegations against Dr. Collier. We received a complaint. It's in your packet. Based on the investigation, we've determined that on February 4th, 2026, Dr. Collier incorrectly administered Invega Sustenna, a long-acting antipsychotic injection for the treatment of schizophrenia, to a patient that was actually requesting an RSV vaccine due to pregnancy. I'm going to let Dr. Tankersley testify about her investigation and her findings, but that is basically the allegation that we will prove to you today. And we would ask at the end of this hearing that you consider disciplinary action due to this error.
There was a mistake in a medication error, as Ms. Bales described, and I'll let Dr. Collier tell you how that happened. And at the end of the hearing, we'll be asking for whatever the board deems appropriate, but hopefully a non-disciplinary type remedy. I have.
Can I call Dr. Collier as a witness first? Okay.
That's fine. Good morning.
Raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
I do. Dr. Collier, I'm going to ask you some questions and then your attorney, Dr. O'Quinn, will ask you some questions. I'm going to ask that we don't use the patient's name in this hearing due to confidentiality reasons. I'm going to refer to them by their initials, just to make that clear. Tell me how long you've been a pharmacist at Collier Drug Store.
Since 1964.
Okay, and my understanding is you have been trained to administer Invega Sustenna, a antipsychotic injection.
Yes, ma'am.
what type of training did you receive?
Our biggest client is Vantage Point Psychiatric Hospital.
Did they
The-
train you?
The head nurse is Barbara Chronister, and she supervised several of my injections. I did it on their premises, and occasionally I do it on our premises.
Okay. And so one of your regular patients to receive that has the initials of CW. Is that your recollection?
That I have not administered to that patient.
You have never administered to a patient with the name of CW?
Correct.
Okay. Did on February 4th, a patient come in and ask for the Invega Sustenna injection?
Yes, we knew she was coming. Isn't my patient. I didn't see her come in. I was in the back of the pharmacy checking prescriptions. And when the pharmacist in charge handed me the basket with her paperwork in it, the correct person's paperwork, and asked me to administer the vaccine to her, or the Invega, at that point.
Well, let me back up just a minute. So this person was not a regular patient.
She wasn't known to me.
Okay.
I'm
So
not
I'm
sure.
asking about the patient that was supposed to receive the Invega Sustenna.
Correct.
Never been a patient of
But-
yours before?
She's been a patient of the store.
Okay,
But
okay.
I had never.
Never,
I-
never,
right.
the
In
injection.
fact, I didn't see her till after the mistake had been made and the other person had left.
Okay.
She had
So-
been wandering around the store.
So how do you prepare the Invega Sustenna product?
It isn't special anymore. They've made it very easy to do. That it used to be a reconstitutable product, but anymore it comes pre-diluted, and all we need to do is attach the needle, and that's what I did. I had left her paperwork to my side, did not look at it because.
We're gonna get there step by
All
step,
right,
so
that's
we
fine.
get the board members to follow along as
All
well.
right.
So you had the patient that came in requesting the Invega Sustenna, correct?
Correct, but I didn't
Had
know,
another-
I didn't know that.
Right, and then you had another patient also that entered the store around the same time. Is that your understanding?
Yes,
Okay. And that patient's initials are KM. And she entered the store and was filling out paperwork for a vaccine as well, correct?
yes, but I didn't know that.
Okay, so at what point did you get involved with the vaccine and or the administration of the Invega
If I
Sustenna?
can do that, thank you. I was at a back counter checking prescriptions. The pharmacist in charge stepped back to me and said, would you give this Invega injection to this patient? At that point, he handed me a basket with her paperwork and the box of the Invega. I put since everybody had done the paperwork, the pharmacist had checked it, et cetera, I set it aside and proceeded to go out of the pharmacy about 30 to 35 feet. And there were two people sitting by the administration room, one of whom looked to be a very special needs lady.
And tell me why this patient had never been in your store before, correct? So how do you look at her and know she's special needs?
I've been around a psychiatric hospital a lot, and she was mute. She did not say a word the whole time that she was in.
Did you ask
And-
her questions?
The caregiver that was with her said, when I walked over to them, they were sitting in chairs by the administration room. I walk over to them and the caregiver immediately says, I'm kind of a Uber driver. And anyway, I invited them into the administration room, closed the door, and at that point, I administered the Invega to the patient.
Okay,
And during while we were sitting there, the caregiver mentioned something, said RSV for pregnant women. I said, yes. Then the 33 to 36
well,
And-
let me
Right.
interrupt you because I want to take this step by step.
be fine.
So you administered the Invega Sustenna
Correct.
to this patient with her caregiver, and this person had never been in the store before.
Correct.
Okay, and so did you confirm her name?
I did not. And
Okay.
that's where I was very sloppy.
Okay.
And that's what we have corrected at this point.
Well, let me
All
let me
right.
ask questions. So you didn't confirm her name or her date of
I
birth?
did not.
And you didn't ask her what she was there for?
No.
You
They-
said after, when the Uber driver said RSV,
I went to the refrigerator and got her RSV after confirming that she was pregnant and qualified with the caregiver and so I went, got the RSV, came back, administered the RSV.
okay. And so the paperwork that you have a patient fill out when they're coming in for a vaccine, did it not say for this patient an RSV vaccine?
I did not see it at the time.
Okay.
I didn't, the paperwork, I was the administrator. I mean, I was the shot giver at that particular time. And I didn't look at the paperwork until after the fact, when I signed the paperwork after they had already gone.
Okay.
And
And so, is that your normal practice?
no,
No,
I was
okay.
sloppy.
Okay, fair
And
enough, fair enough. And so when this Uber driver said RSV,
correct.
did you at that point realize that you had given her the Invega Sustenna incorrectly? Or,
No, I did not. I thought that potentially she was getting both.
okay. And so would it be normal? I mean, if you've worked with these different agencies up there that treat these kind of people, would it be normal for someone to come off the street like that and do the Invega Sustenna with you them not being a regular patient, or like, is that happen?
Generally, we've had a physician order that, or we've had a referral from Vantage Point Psych Hospital.
Okay. But in this case, none for this patient, obviously.
Not that I knew of.
Yeah, okay. So that wasn't something that you were looking for with this patient before you administered that
I
shot?
assumed that our employees had already done that.
Okay. So you went into the area to give the shot without paperwork at all?
Correct.
Okay. And so when this Uber driver person said RSV, you went back and got the RSV and administered that to
Correct.
her as well?
Right.
At what point did you realize that you should not have given her the Sustenna and Invega?
They, as I said, they finished, they left. They were the only two people sitting in the administration area. And anyway, I went back to,
I mean, let me ask you this. So they left, did they pay for it?
no, it was
didn't-
all covered.
Okay.
No. And so I went back to the pharmacy. And at that point, the pharmacist in charge says, hey, so-and-so just walked over to the administration room. Didn't you give her a shot? I said,
That was
no.
patient CW.
That was the supposedly patient. She had been, we have a large store. She was, as it turned out, she had been wandering around the store, and the person I incorrectly gave it to, they were the only people sitting there. Look on her face. I thought, she's a patient that's supposed to get the shot.
You
And so-
thought she was special needs or something like
Yeah.
that? Just by the
Yeah.
look of her?
And she was mute and said nothing the entire time.
Right, but you didn't ask her any questions either?
No,
Oh.
interaction was with the caregiver who was
Right.
sitting there.
And
So when I went back to the pharmacy, and that's when the pharmacist in charge, Cam Franklin, mentioned, hey, didn't you give that? And then he pointed out to me who was supposed to get the shot, and we like to swallow my tongue, but at any rate, at that point, we started finding out, reviewing package inserts,
Right.
et cetera.
because that patient didn't get her shot that day, she had to
So I
come back.
went over to her and asked her, said, we only had one dose of the Invega. Would it be possible for you to come back tomorrow? And she agreed, and so she did come back the next day, and Cam gave
Okay,
her the
and
shot.
so at this point, you've realized that you've made a mistake, but this patient KM, she didn't stay in the pharmacy. She was gone.
They left, and when we looked at that, went to the parking lot to see if they were still there, saw none. Refreshed myself on the package insert on the use during pregnancy, and that's in your all's packet.
Well, let me ask you this. You also made some phone calls, correct, to some sources?
correct.
And why did you do that?
Because I called Barbara Chronister at Vantage Point Psych Hospital, went over their use and she assured me that pregnancy was not ruled out, that they do pregnant women at the hospital. But she did give me some things to look at. Also, we talked on notification of doctors. And that was our effort was to try and find out who her PCP was, also to find out who her OBGYN was, so that then we can put them on notice.
But you never figured out any of her contacts, right?
No,
She still doesn't know this happened, correct?
Correct.
To your knowledge.
We could not find her. Her phone was not correct. Her address, I sent delivery men by her address for the next few days and found no one there. Our HR department called some retarded person's home. We have lifestyles take care of a lot of our some mental health people. We were trying to find her, to
Right.
find out the doctors, to put them on notice.
Okay. Well, did you ever, she has insurance, correct? Like I have a copy of her insurance card that your
To my knowledge,
pharmacist
Brittany,
provided to us.
to my knowledge, Brittany was in touch with them. Likewise, she could have been on maternity leave.
Right, but I feel like
I-
you could have found out through her insurance
I-
company, her contact information, maybe.
We didn't get it.
That didn't happen.
We
Okay.
didn't get it.
Did you send any letters or anything to her house?
No, ma'am.
No. And the number, I think the number starts with the area code 502, which is not an Arkansas area code. Did you try maybe 501 area code? Did that work?
We did. To my knowledge, we didn't try. I was using the number that was on her sheet.
Okay. So, all right, any other efforts to try to find this patient, even to date, any other efforts that you've attempted to find her?
Not me personally. Brittany may have been doing it in HR.
Okay, but to your knowledge, this patient never knew that she received the
Correct.
Invega Sustenna injection. And you have no reason to believe that this patient suffers from any mental issue that would require her to have an Invega Sustenna.
I would not know of that.
And there's no doctor's order for her to receive that Invega Sustenna on this patient.
I assume, oh, correct.
Yes, okay.
Right. No.
All right, and so as part of your research and reaching out to these other sources, I think you said Barbara Chronister, did any of them, I mean, they said things for you to watch out for. What were those sort of things that they said?
Dizziness, tremor, more neurological type symptoms. Barbara assured me that she said most of our patients who are obtaining or that are showing any signs are long-term patients. They take it month after month after month.
Okay.
And she said that's
So would you agree with me that this person who never had this antipsychotic injection and really doesn't need it could have some side effects from it?
could have.
We don't know because
That's
she
right.
doesn't know.
That's right.
So is it fair to say that she could be having some sort of symptoms that could affect her pregnancy potentially, even like a drop in blood pressure or something like that? Based on your knowledge of the injection?
Possibly.
Possibly. Okay. I don't have any other questions for Dr. Collier at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Vales. Mr. Quinn, just a few. Dr. Collier, you've admitted that you've made an administration of a medication that was an error.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you accept responsibility.
Yes,
for that.
sir.
Okay. And you've identified how that error occurred.
Yes.
And tell the board what you've done to correct your process or your procedure practice to
Yep.
be sure that doesn't reoccur.
That'll be good. Yeah, because I was the sloppy one in this case, but likewise, company-wise, everybody checks and reaffirms their name, their date of birth, et cetera. Generally, either at the intake when they're filling out the forms and we're looking at them, or that same thing when they go to the administration room. Because I know a lot of our patients that are regulars, I was not following what I should have as far as asking their name and their date of birth. I've known them 50 years. And so, but as of February the 5th, Carl takes the sheet of paper, goes to the administration room, goes just like if you're in the hospital, they come by and read your armband over and over. Well, Carl has implemented his own remedies that, thank goodness, all of our employees are doing the correct path. I was the sloppy one, but no longer. Thank you.
Pass the witness.
Couple follow-up. So, are you the only person at Collier Drugstore that was trained on the administration of the Invega Sustenna?
No, evidently not. Also, it does not require the reconstitution training that it once did.
Okay.
It's much easier and
Well, at the time that
Anyway.
this happened, were you the only pharmacist that gave that injection?
no, ma'am.
No?
No.
Okay.
That day, I was available.
Do you do most of the injections and vaccines when you're on duty?
I like to because I like the patient interaction. But likewise, like during COVID, we managed 100,000 shots in North Arkansas. Collier's did. And so many of our technicians and pharmacists are very capable at injecting.
Okay, but you do it a lot when you're on duty?
I like to.
Okay.
That's why I continue to practice.
Sure. So, but these two patients that came in that are the issue in this investigation, you did not have any personal knowledge or relationship with either one of them.
Right.
And you'd never seen this KM before.
No.
And, but somehow she looked to be of special needs to you.
Correct.
Okay. I'll
I
have
could
to,
tell by the way they're sitting and her mannerisms.
okay. Okay. That's all I have for follow-up.
Okay, Ms. Vales, Mr. Quinn, nothing? Board members, any questions?
Just in an attempt to potentially work backwards and identify the patient, any chance that the Arkansas WebIZ, that the RSV vaccine had been documented in that before it was given? Or contemporaneous with it being given, any chance you could look at that directory and see if an entry was made to identify the young lady?
Well, because I gave it that day, it wouldn't have been in WebIZ till the next day at the earliest.
But I'm just wondering, had it been, because sometimes you may contemporaneously go ahead and take care of all the paperwork and then give the shot. I'm just wondering if by any chance, I'm not faulting you on that.
Right.
I'm just trying to problem solve as a way to go back and identify the young lady.
We did not.
Okay. Let me also say, thank you, sir, for your 60 years of service as a pharmacist. So because we don't know who she was, we don't know what trimester she was in.
We do, yes. The caregiver knew that she fell in the realm that was recommended for pregnant, 33 to 36.
Okay, I'm just, because the long-acting antipsychotics, there's a concern about the third trimester. We don't know if the child's been born yet.
Well, no, if she was in that time frame, it would have already been born because it's been 4 or 5 months.
And so related to registries, not knowing who she is, so I'm assuming there was no entry made in the National Pregnancy Registry for atypical antipsychotics. Okay. That's a good system to help monitor.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, you did basically went back and did some form of trying to assess remediation, figure out where the errors happened.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right. And I was the sloppy one.
Okay, I understand that. Thank you. But have you reduced that to writing in any way? Have you formalized what you found, what you recommend?
I'm not sure if HR has done that. Brittany is very, very efficient. I'll be glad to follow up with that though tomorrow.
Okay. And have you done any continuing education in this area as ways to help prevent future events from occurring?
I have not at this point.
Okay.
Right. We do, of course, the requirements of vaccination training, et cetera, from the state board. Yeah, every year.
Good morning.
Yeah, morning.
So just to pinpoint what seems to be the cause of the error, you bypassed your standard protocol of identifying the patient and the vaccination or the injectable antipsychotic with matching the paperwork to the patient while you're speaking to the patient or the patient's caregiver. And you did that because you knew the patient or you felt like, I'm just going off of the statement that you had. You said that you bypassed it because you knew them, but this patient you actually didn't know, and yet you still bypassed that protocol.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to, I think that's the point where this spins around.
Right.
Any other board members? Based on the questions from the board, any follow-up from council, Ms. Vales?
No follow-up.
Dr. Quinn? Thank you. Doctor, thank you for your testimony. Ms. Vales, your next witness, please.
Dr. Lindsay Tankersley. Dr. Tankersley, state your job title here at the Board of Pharmacy.
An inspector investigator.
As part of your duties, here at the board, do you, handle complaints received to the board?
I do.
Did you receive a complaint, regarding, Dr. Cole Collier?
I did.
And usually these complaints we receive come from patients. Is that a fair statement?
For the most part, yes.
In this case, was this from a patient?
No.
And it's anonymous, but do we have any idea who this person is?
Without speculating, no idea exactly who the person is, but they did identify themselves as a pharmacist.
So it's identified as anonymous PharmD, is that correct?
Yes.
And they outlined enough information for you to open up this investigation. Is
Yes,
that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and as part of your investigation, what did you do?
So to begin the investigation, we sent, let me find where that is.
You sent the complaint to the parties as you do in any complaint,
did.
correct?
I did.
And is that what Exhibit 3 is?
Yes, I found it now.
Okay. And so you've made some specific requests of the pharmacy, and routed that through their pharmacist in charge, correct?
I did, requested a statement from the PIC, a statement from Dr. Collier, and from any other relevant parties. Received requested patient profiles for both patients involved for a 2-year time period preceding the incident. Ask for specific information for both the RSV vaccine that was given and the Invega Sustenna that was administered, and any other information relevant.
And is one of those documents you received under Exhibit 5?
Yes.
Can you identify what that Exhibit 5 is for the board members?
So Exhibit 5 would be the consent for medication administration that was completed by patient KM, who presented for the RSV vaccine.
And on that form, does patient KM mark that she is pregnant?
She does. She does indicate that she is pregnant about
Okay.
halfway down the page.
Yes, and does she indicate the requested vaccine to be RSV?
Yes.
Okay, and there's a signature there. For confidentiality, it's blacked out, but there is a signature there at the bottom of that form from the patient, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and there's also a note from Dr. Collier where he acknowledges the injection of the Invega Sustenna. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then can you identify Exhibit 7 for the board?
Exhibit 7 is the prescription insurance card of patient KM that was used to process, I'm assuming, the RSV vaccine, which is present on her profile.
And her profile is in here as well.
Tab 8.
Yeah, tab 8, Exhibit 8 is her profile, correct?
Yes,
And that just has one encounter.
it does.
Okay. And that is for the vaccine or the vaccine and
The only medication listed on her profile for that time period was the RSV vaccine.
nothing listed in the profile about the Invega Sustenna.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And also of note, can you identify for the board what Exhibit 13 is?
Exhibit 13 was the statement received from pharmacist in charge Cameron Franklin.
And based on your review of that statement, were you able to determine factually, at least based on their review of it, what happened in this situation?
Yes, I could ascertain a pretty good idea of the logistics of what occurred.
Okay. And Dr. Collier's testimony, which you heard from today, is there any discrepancies between this statement and what the statement from the PIC and what Dr. Collier testified to as part of the hearing today? Especially, I think, let me get more specific. With regard to identifying the patient, is there a different description of that from Exhibit 13 from the PIC?
So when Dr. Franklin discusses, first off, Dr. Franklin's recount of the events is much more specific with time measurements and things like that as well. So in nature, it will be possibly more complete, possibly just more verbose. But Dr. Franklin states that between 12 and 12:15, and Dr. Collier asked Dr. Franklin about the patient receiving the Invega Sustenna, and Dr. Franklin pointed out a patient sitting alone in the lobby, and described her as, quote, a thin female sitting alone. He states that Dr. Collier then left the pharmacy work area to enter the medication administration room with the Invega Sustenna and the patient. Approximately 2 minutes later, Ms. Wood, who I believe is a technician, completed and processed the RSV administration or immunization paperwork, run through insurance, that type of thing. And then at 12:20, 5 minutes after, I'm assuming the Invega had been administered, Dr. Collier returned to the pharmacy to prepare the RSV vaccine. At that point, knowing that the Invega Sustenna had also been administered, he returned to the pharmacy to prepare the Abruzvo vaccine per the PSC's statement. After he prepared it, Dr. Collier returned to the medication administration room and then returned quickly to the pharmacy area, approached the PIC and stated, quote, that he may have given the Invega shot to the wrong person. Dr. Franklin asked him what he meant, and Dr. Collier walked away and began looking at something on the computer. And then Dr. Collier stated, I gave it, quote, I gave it to the bigger girl with the caretaker.
So let me ask you this. If you read this statement from the pharmacist in charge, and it's got all these time stamps on it, does that based on what you reviewed here, did that indicate to you that Dr. Collier realized he gave the Invega Sustenna to patient KM before he administered the RSV vaccine?
Yes, it indicated to me that there was knowledge that the vaccine or that the Sustenna had been administered incorrectly before the patient left the building.
And before, if you read this, before the RSV was administered, is that right? Or am I missing that?
That is how I read it as well.
Okay. And we don't have, even though his statement has time stamps on it, we weren't given any video on the pharmacy during this time. Is that correct?
We were not.
Right. And also it talks about what Dr. Collier did after he realized what he did but giving the Invega Sustenna to the wrong patient. Does it indicate in the statement of the PIC that he made any contact with patient KM?
It does not. Only contact with people he considered to be experts on the medication to ascertain possible harm, I presume.
Okay. And the statement from the Dr. Franklin indicates that to date, the pharmacy has not been able to make contact with patient KM. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So would you say, based on what you've heard from Dr. Collier this morning and your review of the pharmacist in charge statement, there is some discrepancy about the timing of the incident and who knew what supposedly when?
Yes.
Okay. You also have a statement from Dr. Collier, is that correct?
We do have a
Exhibit-
statement from Dr. Collier. That is from Brittany, their
Number
HR.
15 is
Yeah,
Dr.
15.
Collier. Going out of order. Anything that you gleaned as part of your investigation from Dr. Collier's statement that you'd like to highlight for the board? Is it consistent with his testimony?
It is inconsistent when referring to timing in that after the Uber driver / caretaker mentioned RSV, Dr. Collier did not have the Abruzvo shot with him in that room, so had to have returned to the vaccination administration room to have the conversation noted by Dr. Cameron in his statement, or Dr. Franklin in his statement, which would belie the fact that there was knowledge while the patient was present.
So based on your investigation, if Dr. Collier entered the administration room, gave the Invega Sustenna incorrectly, realized then that the RSV shot needed to be administered, would he then have time to go back with the RSV shot and explain the first shot was incorrect?
He would.
But that didn't happen.
No, ma'am.
And we also have the statement of the HR person, Exhibit 14.
Yes.
That statement also discusses the identification of these two patients. Can you highlight for the board the issue or discrepancy with that description?
I would mention just overall that each statement references identification of a patient by a physical description, not date of birth, not name, not what drug are you receiving today. And I think there may have been some confusion between the parties involved in, number one, processing the shot through insurance and cashing it out. Number two, the pharmacists that prepared the vaccines. And number three, the pharmacists that administered the injection and the vaccine. As far as identification, all three statements are consistent in the fact that patient name, date of birth, nor drug sought was confirmed before it was given.
All right, and we've seen different descriptions, physical descriptions of these patients in the pharmacy that ultimately may have led to this. We see a description of skinny girl, is that correct?
Yes.
And we don't know who that's referring to necessarily. But one of these patients was pregnant.
Yes.
All right. And then another description of patient KM being special needs. Do we have any sort of verification or information that she was special needs?
We don't. And a patient prescribed and a patient that is on Invega Sustenna would not necessarily be a special needs patient either. I think that that's a very broad definition.
Right. And so in researching this and educating both you and I, what are the effects of the Invega Sustenna potentially on a patient in general? And I'm referring you to Exhibit 16.
So possible side effects of Invega Sustenna listed in the package insert. And these would be ones that would be expected for a person prescribed Invega Sustenna. Obviously, you're not going to have a list of possible things that might happen to a person who in fact does not need an Invega Sustenna and is then administered one. But possible side effects there would be neuroleptic malignant syndrome, problems with heartbeat, uncontrolled movements, there's tardive dyskinesia, metabolic changes, to be high, high blood sugar, weight gain, low blood pressure and fainting, changes in blood cell counts, problems thinking clearly and moving your body, seizures, difficulty swallowing, and problems regulating body temperature.
And so in this patient insert with regard to a patient that's pregnant, does the insert not say that it is not known whether or not it would harm an unborn baby?
It does state specifically on the first page that it is not known if Invega Sustenna will harm your unborn baby, but does give precautions if you become pregnant while taking it, to want to talk to your healthcare provider about registration with the National Pregnancy Registry for Atypical Antipsychotics, as Dr. Richmond referenced earlier, as well as does list some of the things that could happen to infants born to patients treated with Invega Sustenna. And frankly, having treated patients personally in my practice, taking Invega Sustenna, if one were not expecting the result of a long-acting antipsychotic and did not know what was happening, it might be quite confusing.
And it would not be something that you could attribute to your healthcare provider, you could attribute to taking this Invega Sustenna if you didn't know you had it in your system, I guess.
That's correct.
Okay. And so this 1-866 number for the pregnancy registry for atypical antipsychotics, that was not called, or there's no evidence of that number being called, correct?
No.
So based on your review of all of the information presented, do you feel that Dr. Collier had time to notify this patient that he had given her the incorrect injection, and then failed to do so?
Yes.
And so by that meaning the patient left the pharmacy without knowing that she had received this antipsychotic injection, and we don't know, but could potentially have some patient harm. Is that your assessment of this situation based on your investigation?
It would be, and at the very least, the patient would be left wondering why she was given 2 injections. There was no explanation given in any statement as to how that was explained to the patient.
And if there is some contact information for this patient in this consent form for medication administration, correct?
There is.
And as part of your investigation, did you review that information?
Yes.
Is that the address listed there? Is that the address of a residential home?
Believe so.
Yeah. And this phone number, did you also look at that phone number as part of your investigation?
Did.
And is that a working number?
Yes, believe it to be.
Okay. And is it possible, if you're working as a pharmacist and you need more contact information, what steps could you do to try to contact somebody? I'm going to say, starting with the health insurance. Are you able as a pharmacist to reach out to a health insurance company and get contact information on one of those patients if they're treating pharmacist?
Should be able to. Generally, if you call an insurance company, which with the insurance card that was provided, the information would have been present to contact them. And at the very least, be given some form of contact information, either to confirm what you have is correct or to get something else. Secondarily, it would provide me with an alternate place to contact. I do know where she works. Let me contact someone there, possibly without disclosing anything, just to get some type of information for the patient, especially in such a situation as this.
And that's Exhibit 7, which is the insurance card. And does that also indicate where she's employed?
It did.
And it lists her name as the member, correct?
It does.
Anything else you want to add with regard to your investigation that we have not yet gone over?
The patient that was intended to receive the Invega Sustenna did in fact receive that injection the prior 2 months. With Dr. Collier's testimony about being the one that administers things as he likes to and enjoys to, it seems that he may have been familiar with that patient.
All right, that's all I have for Dr. Tankersley.
Thank you, Ms. Vales. Mr. Quinn, before you start your cross, we're going to go off the record for 2 minutes to allow the court reporter to change out some batteries in her equipment. You good? Okay. Well, you're fiddling with your batteries there, so I wouldn't start. If she is good, then I am good. Please proceed, Mr. O'Quinn.
Dr. Tankersley, good morning.
Good morning.
When you went up and you got the complaint and went to investigate it, did the staff and the people at Collier seem concerned and cooperative with?
They did.
Okay. And there was some mention about there not being any video. Did you ask for any
We
video?
did not.
Okay. And then you've identified a number of resources, I guess, that might have been helpful in identifying this patient. We call that the registries, the insurance, those different things.
Mhm.
Did you contact any of those to try to get that part of your investigation completed, to try to identify this patient?
It would be beyond my scope to cause that alert.
All right, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. O'Quinn?
No.
All right, Ms. Vales?
Nothing else. We rest.
Board members, any questions? Ma'am, thank you very much for your testimony. You do rest, Ms. Vales? Mr. O'Quinn, I don't know what else you're going to add to this, but please proceed.
Just a short follow-up.
Okay.
I called Dr. Carl Collier. Dr. Collier, you listened to Dr. Tankersley's testimony here just a while ago?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have any disagreements with it as far as the timing of the patient and the RSV leaving the ability to inform the patient of the mistake while the patient was in the pharmacy?
My first, Cam Franklin did not make a correct statement. The vaccine RSV is 5 steps from the administration room. Cam Franklin is 40 feet away. After I misgave and the caregiver mentioned RSV, at that point, I stepped those 5 steps to the refrigerator and got the RSV and came back and administered it. Then the patient, then she and her caregiver left. And it was only at that time that I went into the pharmacy. He had the tall, skinny girl in Cam's verbiage had returned back to the seating area. And at that point, he pointed her out to me and said, "Did you not give her the shot?" And I said, "No."
You
I
mean
gave it to,
Invega?
yeah, the Invega. I gave it to the people who just left, but so he is incorrect in saying that I came and gave it to the wrong person before I gave the RSV. I'd already done that. The patient had left. And at that point, he identified the woman who had now come back to the seating area, pointed her out. And then I went out and asked her to come back the next day for her shot.
And if in fact the patient was still there when you discovered the mistake with the Invega injection, then Cam could have also intervened at that time as well and probably would have, I would think.
Yes, they weren't there. They had already gone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McFred. Ms. Vales?
So when you gave the Invega Sustaina to KM, and then the caregiver mentions the RSV, did you go back and look at the paperwork and confirm what was requested at that time? Did you do anything to sort of confirm what the initial request for?
I did not.
Okay, and that paperwork was not near you within 5 steps?
Right.
Okay. So you're maintaining that you didn't know until after all of it was over and she was gone?
Correct.
Okay. And so again, well, and did you personally go out into the parking lot and try to find her?
Yes.
And why didn't you send maybe even just a certified letter to her house?
We were looking probably for more direct contact and quicker contact. That's why even I sent my delivery mans to check in the next day or two, see if anybody was there.
So let's say even after all of this, even after you received the order notice of hearing from the board, did anyone in your pharmacy or you make any further efforts to contact this patient?
I believe Lindsay has talked to Brittany in our human relations HR. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't know of that.
Okay. Well, her statement says no contact has been made at all with this patient. You don't have any information otherwise?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have.
Mr. Quinn?
No further. We rest.
Thanks, sir. Board members, any questions? How about closing statements?
Yeah, briefly, situation is pretty problematic because we have a patient that received an antipsychotic injection that was pregnant and didn't need it. She doesn't even know it. That's the part that caused the staff concern. We don't think diligent efforts were made to find this person. The timing of it doesn't make sense to me either. If you gave her the Invega Sustaina and then someone says, well, wait, what about the RSV? Wouldn't you go back and you would have time to realize what you did? You would ask that person, oh, did you want RSV? Because I just gave you Invega Sustaina. There was no conversation. There was no verification of who this patient was. She's been described as skinny girl and girl with special needs. Nobody gathered enough information to even thoughtfully give her any kind of injection or vaccine. This is a mistake. I think it was covered up. I think there's some panic that happened when he realized he gave this pregnant person an antipsychotic medication. I think that is what is being described in the statement of the PIC. I'd like for you to look at that statement very closely. It's very detailed. It even accounts for time to the minute. And this is a complaint, presumably not from the patient, because she has no idea what happened, but this is anonymous PharmD. This is one of you all asking you to look into this situation and police your own profession here. This person was concerned enough to bring this to the board's attention. It's not something that we have seen in my 3 years of being here. A pharmacist potentially, if the anonymous moniker is correct, making a complaint on one of their own. So I think you should pay attention to that, because that's part of your duty here, is to sort of preserve the integrity of the profession. And that's what this pharmacist is watching to see if you do. I think this is a cover up. And the problem with that is, if you cover it up, that is needs to be handled under the category of disciplinary action. This patient has the right to know that she was injected with this antipsychotic, and she doesn't. And we don't know what happened to this baby. It was not reported to the 1-800 number like it was supposed to. No documentation was sent to her house. I don't know why anyone thought, other than by looking at someone, that their special needs and would be at a different location. That line of thinking doesn't align with rational thought. But this is something that could have been prevented. Yes, he has been a pharmacist for 50 years, and I understand that. But you still have to face the consequences of your mistake when you're dealing with your patients. If you're a perfect driver and have a perfect driving record for 50 years, and on the 50th year and first day of your driving, you slam into the back of a car, you don't get to drive away without facing the consequences of that. This is the pharmacist's duty, is to maintain a level of professionalism, going into that room without talking to the patient, without knowing her name, without knowing her date of birth from her mouth, and giving her an injection is unprofessional, and it rises to the level of disciplinary action because he had the opportunity and time to tell her what he did, and he didn't do it. That's reckless conduct and should be disciplined for that. So that is our position on this, and we ask you to take that into consideration when you deliberate.
Thank you, Ms. Vales. Mr. O'Quinn?
So Dr. Collier's been practicing 50 years. He's had no discipline. Ms. Vales is basically calling him a liar, that he's covering things up, that he really could have let the patient know while the patient was still there. He says that's not the timing, that's not the case. To believe that, then you'd also have to believe that Cam, the PIC also didn't intervene when he could have, if that is the actual timeline, and it's not. And also, then why would he make calls? Why would he call local providers for special needs trying to locate this lady? Why would he send his delivery people by to try to contact her if he could have already done that while she was still in the pharmacy? But Ms. Vales is now calling this as a big cover-up, and it's not. This man has come in here and he's accepted responsibility. He said he made a mistake, and he identified the root cause of how that occurred, and he's corrected his practice in that regard. He said he was sloppy, but he's not a liar. And so we're asking that, yes, he deserves some consequences. Everybody does. We're hoping for that you would consider some type of non-disciplinary consequences with an education component or something else that would be a proper remedy for this particular situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Quinn. Ms. Vales, any rebuttal?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't think I called him a liar. I think when you make a mistake and you realize you make a mistake, you panic. And when you go back and look at it, you may not have been thinking the rational thing to do. I think that had he taken a breath and taken a step after he realized what he did, he had time and opportunity to tell this patient, and he didn't do that. So in that way, I think it's a cover up. Liar is a harsh term. That's not the term I used, but I do think that he had opportunity to tell this patient what he had done before he administered or while he administered the RSV shot, and he didn't. And so I think that rises to the level of disciplinary action.
All right, thank you both. At this point in time, I'll call the evidentiary part of the record to a close. Board's going to go off the record. They will deliberate, and once they reach a decision, they will come back on the record and announce that decision. With a motion and a vote, we are off the record.
Oh, I've got something I need to ask.
Oh, sure.
On the notice in order of hearing notice, what is Dr. Collier's PD number? Because I noticed that this number is PD 09654 on the order, but on his statement at the bottom of it, he has AR 05206. So is that?
Dr. Collier, can you answer?
Okay, so the wrong PD number is associated with the case on the order and notice of hearing at the very top.
Okay, I'll make note of that. Thank you.
Anything else, Dr. Newsom? Okay. All right. I think with that clarification, we are off the record. And I will turn it over to the chair and the board for deliberations. We're off the record.
I'll start.
Okay.
It seems to me that dealing with the acknowledged mistake, we've got patterns of how we've dealt with that in the past. We can consider disciplinary versus non-disciplinary and take various actions. And I can hear your all's proposals for that. What concerns me is, and I think that Ms. Bales and Dr. Tankersley emphasized this failure to follow up in finding the identity of the patient. I agree that's a compounding situation for Dr. Collier. But one of the issues I have is, isn't that failure to follow up, doesn't that fall at least substantially on the shoulders of the pharmacy and the PIC? Because it looks to me like that's one that you can't put entirely on Dr. Collier, although I agree he's responsible and that's a compounding factor in it. At any rate, that's just my thought on what's going on.
And I mean, I think, and y'all can certainly, people that are working currently today, I think every pharmacy handles it a little different. Sometimes it's the person that made the error needs to handle everything. But the PIC got involved immediately. So, I mean, I think they both needed to find out where the lady was, or at least tell the other one that the other one should do it. So, there's no set rule. It has to be whomever, but I'd say different pharmacies handle it just a little different. But someone should have found her, yes.
Well, and I certainly think that whatever action that we take, there needs to be a directive to Dr. Collier, the PIC, and the pharmacy that they have to exercise all efforts to locate that patient and report back to the board.
Yeah, and just part of my procedure in giving injections, always verify the person's name and say, and you are here to get this injection. Because, if people may or may not answer you correctly. I've had people who come in that they will admit that there's somebody else. And they're there to get another injection because it happens quite frequently, especially during the fall season, that you're going to have several people there coming in getting various injections. So you have to verify that. So I don't know what type of protocols that are in place at that drugstore, but there's certain things you have to ask and certain things you have to do to make sure that you're giving the correct injection to the correct person. And that was up on a mission that didn't happen. They just kind of went by what the person looked like.
Additional thought?
I think, clearly med error was made. For me personally, I would like to see some continued outreach to try to find that patient, try to make sure that if there are any adverse effects, that maybe they have some kind of an explanation of what's going on. And then that get some follow-up there. Usually we take patient harm into account, and in this instance, we don't know.
Right.
And, from what we can tell in documentation, there's been no outreach since the day after it happened. So it's the day of and the next day. And there may be more, but we don't know anything about that.
I think we all fully agree an error was made, and I think we all understand exactly why and how it was made.
um, perfect thing to get, have them even do more to find a patient. I mean, I can tell those wheels are turning because you're thinking a lot. I don't know if you're ready or someone else. Right.
Mm-hmm. Self-described, deep floppy. Sloppy. I don't know that. Wanting to disregard first names and stuff. But we had the ability to establish that when error occurred. Because the process failed. When I compare the consent form, contact information, profile. That's not the person's address or phone number, then why would they report that? That sounds like he sent a driver out to the home trying to identify someone. I don't know that all attempts were exhaustive, but it does sound like an attempt. I have no reason to doubt, I mean, Mr. Collier seems contrite, or Dr. Collier seems contrite. So to me, error occurred. We can't assess causation because error, it could cause adverse effects to the mother, cause adverse effects to the fetus, but that would be a long-term thing. I think that's beyond what we have to be able to do. From the standpoint of whether we consider it disciplinary or non-disciplinary, irrespective of whether it's taken injury or not, it's treated. But it's forthright as being non-disciplinary because the last thing we want to do is reporting an adverse event. Hey, if you're going to punish me, then I just won't. My feeling is yes, he acknowledged that. Practice that would be important. Administrative fee for cover the time spent investigating the issue. I would still advocate for non-disciplinary.
I think the point that I'm struggling with a little bit is, has anything like this happened before with Dr. Collier? And we don't know. And did he continue to administer injectables is, I think, a point that we maybe should discuss. And so, Rodney, what I'm hearing from you and to match with how we've handled things like this in the past, there'd be significant continuing education required that would count toward his renewal. And those would be directed toward medication errors, injection protocols, those sort of things. I read a reference from the PIC that is inappropriate for the part to continue to administer injections. I think it was inferred by the statement of how long do you practice? And I know that's not the point of the board to say at this point you stop. But is there risk to the public is what I'm curious what everybody thinks.
So the anonymous PharmD, whoever that was.
Right, okay.
Made a derogatory statement that all can read that.
Right.
But my question would be, let me ask you this, if I dispensed Coumadin 10 and I should have dispensed Coumadin 1, did I therefore, and somebody has hemorrhagic bleed, dies of hemorrhagic stroke, should I then be not permitted to ever dispense Coumadin again?
No is going to be the answer to that. I mean,
No,
I don't think the board would would ever say that, then that applies to this circumstance.
Yeah, so it's directly analogous.
Okay. I think we're lacking a root cause analysis from Dr. Collier because you asked for it and he referred to HR doing that, but I think that's something that needs to be done by Dr. Collier.
I understood him to say that he had gone back. I mean, we would need to see it in writing.
Yes, something in writing. I don't think there was something in writing. He referred to the possibility HR might have done it, but I think it needs to come from him.
Okay, I just have suggestions on their policy and procedures, that you, identify the patient, date of birth, and what they have come in to get. And another thing that I noticed on their, form that you fill out to receive an injection, it has no information on that form about who the primary care doctor is. If that would have been included on the form, that would have made it a lot easier for them to track that patient. But there's no way of tracking back to the who the physician is. So that's something I would like to see added to their policy and procedure if we can say that. Can we do that?
We could, because it is a deficit on the form.
Right.
And I don't know, in this case, might have been the OB-GYN they needed, but, and a lot of forms will ask, who is your primary care, maybe who, or do you get, I don't know how you'd want to word it, but somehow they need to get a doctor that's in charge of that patient, even if it's not primary care.
Right.
Because they may only go to a.
If a person comes into a pharmacy that's unknown, not a prior patient, does the pharmacy ask for an ID? I mean, all we know they had is a insurance card. And how do we know that insurance card belonged to the person that came in? Am I missing something, or is there a process a pharmacy goes through to know your patient?
Hopefully you do know most of them, and he probably does know most of them. He didn't know these two. So, I think we obviously can get there easy that there was an error. We want to, and only one discussion has been made about, holding them accountable. I know we want to do CE, that's a given, but, any other comments on whether it's reportable or not reportable, or, Rodney spoke to that, but.
I don't have a firm opinion on that, whether it should be reported or not. I do want to see a plan of action from Dr. Collier. And I think some involvement from the pharmacy in updating their information on their, that's a reasonable.
Potentially requesting further work to find this patient.
Yeah, more effort to reach this patient and try to, that person needs to know.
Okay, would anybody like to either offer on the record, make a motion?
You know how much time, investigative time has been spent? on
We
this?
do not.
Maybe we need to go back on record to ask that.
Sure thing.
Well, and Brian
that's a-
has it. Well, wait.
Oh, no,
Brian has, rather than try to pinpoint, okay. Okay, we can go back on the record and someone is going to make a motion.
All right, we are back on the record. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, does the board have a question or are you ready for a decision?
Don't want to talk to that first?
Well, let us stay off the record just a minute.
Okay.
Just to try out your motion. Like take that?
No, it's not what.
Oh, Rodney?
My motion would be consistent with basically what I said. That's agreeable. I can make that motion. Okay, yeah, we'll make it.
Okay, we'll go back on the record. We just didn't quite finish the sentence.
And on the record now, what was his PD number?
05206.
PD.
Yes.
Or in the matter of Carl Collier, PD 05206, case number 2026-038. Allegations being true and charges being proven. Recommend that Collier asked to complete and or document what has been done in terms of a root cause analysis to identify the errors that occurred in this case in a comprehensive way. Reduce that to writing, including how you're going to go about making sure that not only in your own personal practice, but in the pharmacy that you're working, that the followed, that there'll be at least 10 hours of continuing education that would be outside of the season required for your annual or biannual pharmacist renewal in the areas of immunization protocols and medication errors. That's a administrative fee to cover investigation costs of $1,000.
A second.
Want to include anything about follow-up with that patient to notify them?
Yes, in fact, I'm glad you pointed that out. As part of the root cause analysis, I'd ask that you go back and in an exhaustive fashion, back through the record you've already looked at, the profile, description, health insurance card, any potential source of follow-up, see if you can identify who this patient is, cause of the potential for effect on the fetus.
Okay,
And document that in your write-up back to the board as part of your root cause analysis.
You're talking about notifying the patient or just identifying the patient? I think you said identifying the patient. Do you mean notifying?
okay, so do you have a motion by Dr. Richmond? Get a second.
A second as amended.
Okay, from Lynn Fouché, seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Madam Chair, I will note for the record, the decision of the board in this matter was unanimous. I will ask staff to memorialize that decision. Make certain Dr. Collier, along with Mr. O'Quinn, get a copy of it, along with an information sheet or cover letter that notifies them of their appeal rights moving forward. Questions, Mr. O'Quinn?
No, we appreciate the board's time and consideration.
Well, with that, if there's nothing further, we'll call this hearing to a close. We're off the record. And you're up next again, Mr. O'Quinn, for the next one. Are you up? Are you?
Yes.
Okay. We're a tad behind, but we will press ahead. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Water.
Well, I saw you flip.
Yes. Ashley Bales, General Counsel for the Arkansas State Board of Pharmacy.
Darren O'Quinn, Little Rock, on behalf of Dr. Cassie Lord. All right, I'll take judicial notice of the statutes and the rules that are governing this hearing. Arkansas Code annotated section 17-92-101 at sequence, and the Arkansas Administrative Procedures Act, Arkansas Code annotated sections 2515-201 at sequence. It appears I've got exhibits from both parties, 7 exhibits from staff. Move the admission of those, Ms. Vale.
Yes, I move to admit those exhibits in your packet as exhibits from both the board and,
Thank you. Without, I'm sorry, Mr. O'Quinn, any objection to the admission?
No objection.
All right, thank you very much. Those exhibits are admitted. Mr. O'Quinn, it looks like you have 6. I haven't reviewed them, but looking at the index, it looks like they are character reference letters. I assume that's right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any objection
no.
to admission? Thank you. Without objection, exhibits 1 through 6 are admitted. Mr. O'Quinn, do I have to go over the hearing process with your client?
No, sir.
Okay. I am going out on a limb. Could we make certain the respondents has some water for her? Just trying to be a little proactive. Thanks. Ma'am, as we go through this process, okay, if at any time you need to take a break, you need us to stop the proceedings, you let Mr. O'Quinn know, and I'll go ahead and stop it so you have an opportunity to compose yourself. I'm fairly confident just looking at you, you are petrified. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So we'll try to make it as harmless and non-scary as possible. Ms. Vales, do you want to do an opening statement?
Just briefly, Dr. Lord has been brought in today. The allegations in this case are as follows. On March 16th, 2026, board staff learned that she had been terminated from her pharmacist position at Walmart in Bentonville. And she was terminated for a violation of Walmart's alcohol and drug-free policy, workplace policy. She resigned her position when she was asked to take a mandatory drug screen. Then we reached out to her as staff, and she completed a drug screen for us, and it was positive for butalbital, a Schedule III controlled substance. She signed a preliminary consent agreement and entered the Palmetto treatment facility. And that evaluation is in your packet. The result of that evaluation didn't find any evidence of current substance use disorder and didn't find anything that would inhibit her ability to practice her profession. But as part of the evaluation, she admitted to smoking marijuana in the months of January and February of 2026, during the time she was also employed as a full-time pharmacist. So we would consider that and ask you to consider that a violation of our board rules and statutes. I'll have Dr. Kirtley testify about this. He had most of the contact with Dr. Lloyd, but this is a matter of a pharmacist willfully violating the rules by smoking marijuana while she was employed as a pharmacist. So we would ask you to take that into consideration in determining whether or not she should be disciplined for that.
Ms. Fields, thank you. Mr. O'Quinn?
Yes, sir. So Dr. Lord was working at Infinity Care Solutions at the time and working PRN for Walmart and picking up those hours. She was asked to randomly drug test one day in March. There was no allegations. There's been no allegations that she's been impaired at work, diverting, acting strange, any of that. It was a random. The 2 months before, about twice a week, she had used marijuana. She was going through a divorce and different things, and she met someone who used it, and so she used it during those 2 time periods. So when she was approached in March to take this random drug test, she was worried that it was going to be positive for marijuana. So she refused the test. She wasn't really happy at her PRN job at that time. So she refused the test. I don't know how much later, but it's pretty quickly after that, the board asked her to drug test, and she tested negative for marijuana, but positive for Fioricet. And she was asked why she had that in her system, and she said that she'd actually taken it the day before. She had a headache, and she had borrowed one from her mother. So that's all documented. With that evidence, the board asked her to voluntarily surrender, and she did. And asked her to go get an evaluation at Palmetto, and she did. And actually, I think maybe Dr. Kirtley can verify this, but I think her evaluation was one of the better ones that have ever come out of Palmetto. There's no evidence that she currently has any substance use disorder or issue. They said she doesn't need any treatment. And they said that basically there's nothing to prohibit her from safely practicing. So we're here today saying, yes, she did, fail the drug screen, and that is a violation. We're not denying that. She's trying to do everything she can do to rectify that. She's asking to get her license reinstated. One, I guess, twist, I don't know if normally when drugs are involved, maybe the board always refers them to the Arkansas Pharmacy Support Group. That might not be the perfect fit for her in this particular situation, given Palmetto's evaluation. But if she has to, she's going to, and she doesn't mind being monitored at all. The only thing is she's really requesting that'd be different from normal would be to not have a delay in returning to practice. And I've talked with Dr. Crumball at the support group, and he's willing to consider those types of accommodations for her particular situation. Obviously, he hadn't read the paperwork, and he's got to run it through his executive committee, but that's our concerns here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Quinn. Each of you have just the one witness, I believe, right? Why don't we go ahead and swear you in, ma'am? You have to raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Ma'am, thank you so much. All right, Ms. Vales, your first witness, please.
Call Dr. John Kirtley. Dr. Kirtley, state your job title here at the Board of Pharmacy.
I'm John Clay Kirtley. I'm the Executive Director of the Arkansas State Board of Pharmacy.
And you're familiar with the Arkansas State Board of Pharmacy statutes and rules, correct?
Yes, I am.
Is there a rule or a statute, mind you, that covers pharmacists violating drug statutes and regulations of the state or federal government?
Yes, it would also fall under unprofessional conduct.
Okay, so if Dr. Lord violated the drug statute by being in possession of marijuana without a marijuana card, would that be also a violation of our statute as well?
Yes, it would.
And would you consider a pharmacist that worked in a pharmacy while smoking marijuana, albeit after hours, would you consider that to be unprofessional conduct as well?
We would consider that to be a safety or security conscious position if you're dealing with other people's health care or controlled substances.
Okay. And so let's back up and describe to me how the board learned of this situation with Dr. Lord. And I'm going to refer you to Exhibit 7. Can you tell the board what Exhibit 7 is?
Exhibit 7 is a practice compliance notification that we received from Walmart Corporate. It's a notification of associate termination. When we get these, it usually just has a brief reason or description. In this instance, it states pharmacist Cassie Lord was terminated for violation of Walmart's alcohol and drug-free workplace policy, and had a note on it, associate resigned when asked to take a mandatory drug test.
And once the board received this information, what did you do next?
We both reached out to Walmart for any additional information and reached out directly to Dr. Lord to see kind of what is going on.
And you had a telephone conversation with Dr. Lord?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell me in summary what that conversation was?
In summary, that conversation outlined a lot of those calls. When I start out, it's, is this a bad time to talk, which a lot of people probably say it might be. Discussed with her kind of what was going on with the Walmart side. She explained to us that she was only working there part-time. There have been discussions of, not meeting the number of hours Walmart might want. And when she came in for a shift, they basically immediately told her, you need to take a drug test. And she just said it wasn't worth even dealing with a drug test to continue in that employment. So at that time, she resigned the position with Walmart rather than take the drug test.
She did not indicate to you that she had been using marijuana or any other controlled substances without a prescription, correct?
No, she did not.
Okay, and what did the board do next?
We asked her if she would be willing to take a drug test. She agreed to that. We set it up through our pharmacy support group, who has a specific contract and tracking system to help expedite drug testing. When she did go, I believe it was that day to do one, we got results that was a dilute specimen, which therefore we called her again the very next day and asked her to do a second drug test since the first one was dilute and therefore we couldn't count it. We couldn't get measured information on results.
Okay, and is that result in Exhibit 6?
Yes, that is.
And what does it show positive for?
It showed positive for barbiturates, and it has the specific positive test, the cutoff, and the actual result of 448 nanograms per mil to show that it was a positive test.
And once we received the drug screen results, what did the board do next?
Then I called Dr. Lord again, and I know that she knew, and I knew that we knew as soon as she answered the phone that it was a bigger deal at that point because she had also apparently seen the results or had gotten the results of the drug screen and knew there was an additional issue at that point.
And did you ask her to consider signing a preliminary consent order?
Yes, we did. We explained that generally for board staff, once we have some sort of a positive drug test for something that a pharmacist or a technician does not have legal authority to use or prescription, that we are going to need a preliminary consent agreement to avoid an emergency hearing for suspension, and asked her to basically line up an inpatient evaluation at one of our approved centers, which she did.
And once someone completes that evaluation, does the board receive a report from the recovery center?
Yes, we do. And we had indicated to Dr. Lord that, the hope would be that there is nothing additional that would come back in this report. If so, we would try to get the report in front of the board as quickly as we could for consideration of her being able to return to practice. This report, just a quick summary, is once she, I think, got to Palmetto, I think that she was very open and honest with them, more so than she had been with us, and told them everything that was going on behind the scenes to get a valid report. And then Palmetto came up with the decision you see in Exhibit 4.
And she does have, Palmetto does list some diagnoses for her, correct?
Yes, they came up with some diagnoses of abuse dealing with these issues, but not dependence. And as Mr. Quinn previously stated, they did not indicate the need for inpatient, outpatient treatment or monitoring.
And then at that point, once you reviewed the full Palmetto report, did you learn some information about her possible drug use?
Yes, that explained that there was a little bit more, I believe, to the reason for denying the random drug screen with Walmart as an employer. It also gave some more light to what happened with the failed test. It in some ways is ironic that if the whole story is true of the butalbital use, we may have only seen that because of the drug test that was dilute the day before. Nonetheless, it was caught. But it opened up for us that there had been other drug use that we were not knowledgeable about when we were going through these conversations initially.
And also, does the Palmetto report indicate that Dr. Lord told them that she was using marijuana?
Yes, that she was using it for a couple of months previously in the year on a, I would say, a somewhat regular basis at that time.
And in the Palmetto report, did it quote Dr. Lord as saying that that was her big secret?
Yes, I read that, and I think all kind of comes together and makes sense when you read it in that context, that was the thing that was hidden, but it was at that point out in the open.
And none of that was explained to you during your conversations with Dr. Lord?
No, it was not. We were assured that there would be no problems with a drug test.
And so for that reason, usually if these Palmetto evaluations come back with a diagnosis and a recommendation that they're not to practice, then they do go in the support group.
Yes,
Correct.
that is correct.
But in this case, that didn't happen. Do you feel like the support group would be an appropriate avenue for Dr. Lord at this point?
My personal feeling is that we usually do not send someone who is not in an addictive disease or substance use dependence or disorder into the support group itself, because while it might be informational, it is not necessarily what that person needs at that time. I do think it has some wonderful qualities that it would include a sobriety contract, but if a person does not have that diagnosis yet has some other need for medication, treatment, or something else, that it might block them from that treatment when they do not technically have a diagnosis of an addictive disease or dependence.
So is it safe to say she wouldn't really get any therapeutic benefit from being a member of the support group if she doesn't have an addictive disease?
I think that she could get some therapeutic benefit and some knowledge benefit, but I'm not sure that that is the right way to necessarily handle it. We've had people in the past that with an evaluation like this, it would have red flags, and the best comparator I would have is kind of like you go to the dermatologist and you have something that's precancerous that they go ahead and remove and they go ahead and watch. We've seen evaluations that would suggest a monitoring contract for a period of time and a sobriety contract for a period of time as monitoring, even without a full diagnosis. Hers did not include that language.
So after the evaluation came back, there was discussions with Dr. Lord about coming back to practice, correct?
There were.
And did we bring that issue to the board?
Yes.
In April?
We had only gotten the full evaluation the day before we had a meeting scheduled to consider final considerations of proposed rule changes. We discussed with Dr. Lord and we presented that to the board to see if they would be willing to let her go back to practice in the interim until she would be able to appear in person before the board at a later date. During that meeting, as you can see from Exhibit 3, the board did not choose to let her go back to practice. They chose to uphold the suspension, and we scheduled her for a full hearing today before the board.
Anything else you want to add with regard to Dr. Lord that you have not testified to?
No, ma'am.
Ask the witness.
Thank you, Ms. Vils. Mr. Ruckman.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Board members, any questions?
So you said you don't believe that the support group would be an appropriate.
I don't believe in this case, given that they did not call for the style or type of monitoring that we have with the support group, with the sobriety contract, the requirement for AANA meetings, the requirements for ongoing counseling. They actually did not indicate it. I think it surprised all of us with the information that we did not know about the marijuana use. But I think that because it had ended, I know they do other drug tests there, and I think their discussions with her, they did not include it in there. I could see the board saying, we want to be able to test you. I just
That
don't
was
know
gonna
if
be my
it,
next question. Has there ever been an ongoing monitoring outside of, and maybe it's administered by the support group since they have the contract, but it's outside of that program?
we have had that a few times in the past where the board wanted to reserve the right for a period of time to have ongoing monitoring, whether that be at random or just to set up, even I think with the support group, that the person could call in on a basis and would be flagged at random for a drug test, but they're not under a otherwise full contract with the support group.
Anyone else from the board? Based on that question from the board, follow up from council? Ms. Vales?
None for me.
All right, Ms. Vales, you rest?
We rest.
Okay. Mr. O'Quinn?
Okay. I'll call Dr. Lord. Dr. Lord, would you state your name and address for the board, please? You can just say the city.
Cassie Lord from Bentonville, Arkansas.
Okay. And you graduated University of Louisiana at Monroe in 2018?
Yes,
So you've been practicing about 8 years,
yes,
and you don't have any discipline during that time?
I do not.
You had one instance, I think, where there's a failure to counsel issue that was brought before the board, but it was non-disciplinary.
Correct.
And can you just describe a little bit where you've worked during these 8 years?
Yes, I've worked mainly retail, CVS for a stint in Central Arkansas. And I did about 3 years as the pharmacy director at an inpatient psychiatric hospital in Hot Springs. And when I moved to Bentonville, I found a part-time job at Walmart, going back to retail. And recently was full-time at Infinity Care Solutions, which is mail order, specialty, and compounding.
And so you were working at Infinity Care Solutions at the time of these events and working PRN for Walmart?
Yes.
Okay. And had Walmart expressed concerns about your, the amount of hours that you need to have in order to stay on as a PRN pharmacist?
Yes, I had missed the previous quarter requirements by 2.5 hours. And they had called and said they would allow me to continue working there, but I had to make up the hours that I missed in the next quarter.
And had you had a friend that had been at Walmart for a long period of time as PRN that missed her hours and was pretty much immediately terminated?
Yes, Walmart was getting strict on their hourly requirements at that time. One of my pharmacist friends that I work with at Infinity, she's worked at Walmart 10+ years, and they had fired her that week for not missing or for not making her, hourly requirements as well by, a small amount of hours.
So we're in March of 2026 and you walk into the store, Walmart, and what happens?
So that particular store, you get there an hour before the store actually opens to the public or to the patients. So I got there and I opened the store, and I was surprised to see the store's manager there because I was working for him. And the lights weren't on in the pharmacy, and it was almost like I still had everything in my hands. And he gave me a piece of paper and said, you have to go take a random drug test. And I thought it was a joke. And he said, no, that's, it's random. We've never seen this before. The front store manager was there as well, and she was saying the same things, and they were telling me that if I thought someone made some sort of complaint against me, that I could file an ethical violation. And it was a very overwhelming situation on top of what I had done. So I asked if I was going to take the test there, and they said no, that I had to go to a walk-in clinic. And at that point, I just said, if I leave, I'm going to go home.
And even though you might have not been totally happy at Walmart at that particular time, your overarching concern in refusing the test was you knew you had used marijuana in the couple of months before.
Correct.
Okay. And tell the board about that use. You were going through a divorce, correct?
Yes.
You just moved to Bentonville.
So I had recently moved to Bentonville, and kind of went through a really difficult and surprise divorce, and it went on for about a year. And I was at a low point in my life, and I had very low self-worth and made bad decisions based on the people that I was hanging out with. I wasn't holding myself personally or professionally to a high standard.
And as I understand it, the marijuana use went on for about 2 months, January and February,
Yes,
before this March event.
yes.
Okay. And how many, like you said, a couple of times a week, you would smoke marijuana or use marijuana?
Yeah, it's stated like that in the report from Palmetto, because the doctor there was more concerned with frequency than overall use. So at most, 2 times a week, but then there would be a period of 2 weeks or more where there would be none.
Okay. But you knew it might be in your system in March, and so that was one of the factors that you
Yes.
said, I'm not going to take the test.
Yes.
Okay. So then the board calls you, and you've heard Dr. Kirtley go through that, but tell us about the barbiturate that was in your system.
Yes, it was a Fiorset tablet that my mom offered me. I didn't think much about it since I was using it for its intended use, and it's my mom, and I took that because I had a really bad headache.
And then the next day, the board asked you to test, correct? Or
Yes,
pretty
yes.
close to that?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were negative for the marijuana, correct?
Mhm.
And you were positive for the Fiorset?
Yeah.
Okay, and so Dr. Kirtley and them got with you, asked you to surrender, and you did that?
Yes.
And then they asked you to go get an evaluation, and you did that? And Dr. Kirtley's gone through the evaluation, so I'm not gonna go through that, but basically, did the evaluation find that you didn't have an active substance use disorder
Yes.
and that you were safe to practice
Yes.
and that you didn't need any treatment?
Yes.
Okay. So is there anything you want to add to this? I want to ask you first, are you agreeable if the board doesn't send you to the support group under the standard contract? Are you agreeable to any type of random test that the board might want to do during whatever period they might want to do it?
I'm agreeable to anything.
You're wanting to get back to practice.
Yes.
And do you think that Infinity Solutions is going to want you back?
I think I have a really good chance of trying to get that job back. Yes.
And you have a young child that you have custody of?
I have 2.
Two.
Yes.
Okay, so you need to work. Okay. So we've submitted to the board 6 character letters, and they can read them, so we're not going to read them for them. But can you just tell the board who these people are? And the first one is Artney Cooper, Farm D.
I worked with Aritney at Walmart and at Infinity.
Mhm.
She helped me to get the job at Infinity.
Okay. And then Ben McLean, Farm D.
So I worked with Ben at Walmart as well as Infinity.
Okay. And then an email type letter from Jonathan Gatonio.
He is who hired me at Infinity. He is the pharmacy manager there.
And then there's one from Austin Lovelady, Farm D.
I work with Austin at Infinity.
And then there's one from Taylor Metter, Farm D.
I work with her at Infinity as well.
Okay. And then there's one from Maya, I can't pronounce it.
Melche.
Yeah, Farm D. And who's this?
Maher is a longtime friend. I went to undergrad with him and we've worked together at CVS and Walmart. And he lives in Bentonville now as well.
And across any of your jobs, has anybody ever accused you of being impaired or acting strange or, on drugs or diverting drugs or anything like that?
No.
Okay. So what are you asking the board to do?
I am asking the board to have confidence based on my history as a pharmacist, my character statements, and my evaluation at Palmetto, to have confidence that I can safely go back to work, and allow me to have my license reinstated and the opportunity, to go back to work immediately. I do have, 2 small kids, and I've been out of work almost 3 months. And my job at Infinity is a blessing as a single parent, and I would like the opportunity to salvage that job before too much time passes.
Okay. Thank you. Who passed the witness? Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Dr. Lordy, you ready to proceed with examination? Ms. Vales is probably going to ask you some questions. Are you okay?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Vales?
Let me know if you need a break, but I do have some questions. So not to Dr. Kirtley when he called, but you admitted to Palmetto that you did smoke marijuana in January and February, correct?
Yes.
Is that the first time you've ever smoked marijuana?
No.
When's the first time you smoked marijuana?
Would have been an undergrad.
Okay.
Like at first getting to college, my first years.
Had you been smoking marijuana regularly since then?
No.
So how many years would you say between the time you quit smoking marijuana to the time in January when you started again?
10?
Okay. So did you smoke marijuana when you were in pharmacy school?
No.
No. And so you smoked marijuana with someone else, correct?
Yes.
A boyfriend or some
At the
love
time,
interest?
yes.
And where did you smoke the marijuana?
At his house.
Where did the marijuana come from?
A dispensary in Missouri.
A dispensary for people with medical marijuana cards or a recreational?
Recreation.
So who bought the marijuana?
Did.
Okay. And you smoked it in Arkansas, correct?
Yes.
Did he have a medical marijuana card to your knowledge?
No.
And do you have a medical marijuana card? Okay. And how many times during those 2 months did you smoke marijuana?
Probably 6.
6 total? And you were working during that time?
Yes.
So when would you smoke the marijuana?
On the weekends that I did not have my kids.
Okay. And then you'd go into work on Monday through Friday?
Yes.
And then also you would work at Walmart as well?
Yes.
And then, so when Walmart asked you to do a drug screen, you told Dr. Kirtley that you just didn't want to bother with Walmart anymore, but really you were concerned that you would test positive for marijuana. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, both are true, but the main reason is, yeah, the marijuana there was a lot to risk and I didn't want to risk it.
Okay. And so when you talked to Dr. Kirtley, you agreed to take a drug screen for the board, correct?
Yes.
And assuming that was, there was no issues there, then we might have dropped the situation, but in fact, you tested positive for another controlled substance, correct?
Yes.
So the first drug screen that you took for the board showed that your urine was diluted.
Mhm.
Do you know why that came out that way?
I just drink a lot of water daily.
Okay. And so once it came diluted, did you take another drug screen for the board?
Yes.
And you were aware of the drug screen results for that?
Yes.
And you were positive for butalbital, correct? So you took 2 drug screens for the board, right?
Yes.
When did you take your mother's prescription medication?
The day before the second one.
Okay. So did you take it? You said you had a headache.
Yes.
Do you have a prescription? Do you have a problem with headaches?
I do get a lot of headaches, but I don't have a prescription for any like migraine medication.
Okay. And so you thought it was okay to take your mother's prescription medicine because she's your mother, or explain that, your thought process with that.
I don't think I really thought about it. I don't want to defend that I did that because I should not have.
Okay. And why you say you should not have done that?
Because it's not my medication.
Okay. All right. And in the Palmetto evaluation, have you reviewed that?
Yes.
And in there, it says that you told them that this marijuana use was your big secret. What do you mean by that? Do you remember saying that to them?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I told them that I didn't like the way that I was feeling in those 2 months because I felt I was hiding it, and I felt like I had a big secret, and I have, pretty high anxiety anyway, and it was making it worse. So I told them I had already made the decision to stop doing that in February, and I had ended that relationship because I felt like I had a big secret. And I
Okay.
didn't want to continue on that way.
Okay, understood. So you ended the relationship with this person that provided you the marijuana?
Yes.
So is this just if you don't have an addiction to marijuana, is this just poor judgment then on your part?
Yes.
But you realize that you violated the rules and statutes as a pharmacist when you violate the drug statutes, correct?
Yes.
And you understand also that legally you can't have possession of marijuana
Yes.
because you have no marijuana card, correct?
Yes.
Did you know that at the time?
Yes.
That as a pharmacist and someone without a medical marijuana card that you can't be doing this?
Yes.
Okay, but then you chose to do it because of this relationship or just poor judgment. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
Mr. O'Quinn,
No questions.
board members.
Do you know what schedule butalbital is federally?
3.
Schedule 3. And of course, it varies depending on the formulation as to whether it's scheduled or not scheduled. But you know it's Schedule 3.
Yes.
And you're familiar with controlled substance law? You're familiar that there's a federal caution on any controlled substance that says federal law prohibits transfer of this drug from a patient to whom it's not to someone who is not prescribed for, basically paraphrase. Okay. It's also curious, you had reports of 28 prescriptions, I think it was, of clonazepam being dispensed. That didn't show up on the urine screen. Had you not been taking that of recent time, or?
I didn't take it very often, and I have stopped taking it altogether now.
Thank you.
Any other board members? I follow up from council based on a question from the board, Mr. O'Quinn.
No question.
None.
All right, Mr. Quinn, do you rest?
We do.
All right. How about closing statements?
Briefly, this is just a matter of a pharmacist choosing to violate the law. They violated the pharmacy rules and statutes, and they violated criminal statutes. She didn't get caught, but, I don't think in the past that we've allowed people that smoke marijuana to work in pharmacies, at least with pharmacy technicians. I know we deny those frequently. I don't know that we should hold the pharmacy technicians to a higher standard than we do the pharmacists. I realize that, you have to take into account her practice, but she chose to make the wrong decision. She chose to ingest the marijuana illegally. She chose to take her mother's prescription illegally, and that's what brings her here today. She doesn't have an addictive disease. I don't think treating her as if she does would help her or the other members of the Arkansas Pharmacy Support Group. So I don't think that's a viable option for her. So I think disciplinary action is called for in this case because she's willfully violated our rules. So with that, I rest.
Thank you, Ms. Mills.
Quinn? Just briefly, she's been out of practice about 3 months because she voluntarily surrendered and cooperated. That's been costly for her already. She's admitting that she violated the law and that she did wrong. So that's not at issue. I think she's asking for her license back under whatever conditions the board deems appropriate, including she'll be make herself available for any drug test random type drug test that the board would like to do during the period of however long they want to do it. So that's all she's asking for is to get back to practice under whatever conditions the board decides are proper.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Ms. Mills, any rebuttal?
No.
All right, with that, I'll call the evidentiary part of the record to a close. Board's going to go off the record. They will deliberate once they reach a decision. They will come back on the record and announce that decision with a motion and vote. We are off the record.
Well, we started this then.
Well, I'm in favor of giving her license back. Whether we want to require some random drug screens, interested in y'all's thoughts. That's really, I think she made a mistake and she suffered some consequences for it as a result. And those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think to this point, she's done kind of what we've asked her to do. She took the drug test, took it again. She went to Palmetto. They found that there was no evidence of a current substance use disorder. And there's not anything that would inhibit her from going back to work. I do think there needs to be some kind of a monitoring follow-up from that. And I don't think it needs to go through the support group. I don't think that's fair to go in and say we're not going to do a sobriety agreement, but we are going to make her go and participate in those meetings and go through the same process. So some kind of monitoring though.
Do you have a time limit you'd like to throw?
I'm open to.
Well, one of my thoughts was whether her employer, I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but I was thinking 12 months at a minimum.
Yeah, I was thinking, reinstate her license for perhaps a year of probation. If anything happens within that year, she's back in here.
I'm in complete agreement with that and just fixing it at a year and doing random drug screening.
I agree with Dr. Newsom's assessment.
I agree too. And I would suggest that we make the random unannounced drug screening be at the direction of the staff, as opposed to forcing it to go one way or the other.
Okay, would anybody be prepared to make motion? We'll go back on. Okay. We'll go back on.
We'll go back on.
Your probation.
Well,
Yeah, probation.
More than likely automatic, I mean, for sure a fine is, so probably.
we'll have to ask that. I don't know.
And we could go back on and ask that question first.
We are back on the record. I believe board has reached a decision. Chairwoman.
If we place the license, give the license back, but place it on probation, does that automatically get it reported and considered discipline?
Yes, that's an automatic report to the data bank as a disciplinary maneuver. Respondent would pay for that, whether it was indicated by staff or even with support group, the individual pays for the drug test.
Does the support group have a better mechanism than the board to randomly select that and get it done?
I believe that they very well may, and it's something that we'll look at and discuss with them if the board takes this action.
I'd leave that open-ended.
You're still on the record. Do you want to stay on the record? Are you ready? All right. Madam Chairwoman.
No fine, right? Or is it? Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let me get to the. So in the matter of Cassie Lynn Lord, PD 14861, case number 2026-027, the board finds that allegations 1 through 9 haven't been proven true, and charges 1 through, well, there's 4 charges listed here. So the charges listed,
True, proven and
Proven.
true. Proven,
tell me,
true, first, and
I'm
true.
sorry,
for second.
Charlie, I messed this up, my fault.
Allegations proven, charges true.
Thank you.
That's your
I
answer.
double dipped on the first one. Allegations 1 through 9 being proven and the charges listed being true. The board finds that we're going to place the respondent on probation for 12 months with 12 months random drug screening to be reported to the board, and we'll defer to the board on how to accomplish that random screening.
Okay, I have, Dr. Brian Jolly made the motion. Dr. Harold, not Dr. but Harold Simpson, made the second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I will note for the record, Madam Chairwoman, the decision of the board was unanimous. Please, I'll instruct staff to memorialize that, make certain that the respondent, Dr. Lord, as well as Mr. O'Quinn, get a copy of it along with an information sheet that notifies them of their appeal rights moving forward. If there are no further questions or comments from the board, call this hearing to a close. We are off the record.